戏，一起奋斗，一起超越，一起上吧兄弟，好战胜黎明，我的巅峰够不够？我们还需要再努力。你的剑就是我的剑，爱惜的剑，可不可以准一点？嘿，你大爷，我来空兵线，不要随便慌张的交叉线。旋转跳跃，你闭着眼，开了转弯会让你闭上眼。如果该轮也转圈圈，马上跟先生一样，你体会老家。记得手上山上别让眼，看到都在茶叶让我传送。记得手上山上别让眼，一切生命最后让我受透。Hello， 北京的朋友。我的真情不可能被压力迷惑，也许我每天在那号码的头，然后我永远而是渗透。旋转跳跃，你闭着眼，看的转弯会让你闭上眼。Easy easy， 要你 easy， 小人们在跳，我就把你接上去。手上别让眼，看到拖在茶叶让我传授。地上手上身上别让眼，一切生命最后让我受透。Make the noise for the finalists. What's up? This is Magic. This is mine, and this is Jason. 北京的尖叫声 ，Come on！ 记着，手上身上别让眼，看到都在茶叶让我传送。记着，手上身上别让眼，一切胜利最后让我受透。
Legends never die. Who's calling you? Can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die. They become a part of you. Every time you bleed for reaching greatness, relentless, you survive. When everything's lost, they pick up their hearts and face defeat. Before it all starts, suffering through harness to touch your dream. Oh, pick yourself up, 'cause legends never die. When the world is calling you, can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die. They become a part of you. Every time you pray for reaching greatness, legends never die. They're written down in eternity, but you'll never see the price it costs. The scars collected all of their lives. When everything's lost, they pick up their hearts and they'll face defeat. Before it all starts, they suffer through hardness to touch your dream. Oh, pick yourself up, 'cause legends When the world is calling out your name, I'm begging you to fight. Pick yourself up once more. Pick yourself up.
这里是中国北京，欢迎来到2017英雄联盟全球总决赛。现场的召唤师们，拿出你们的热情，让我们欢迎战队登场。来到总决赛的两支队伍，分别就是三星战队、SKT 战队，呐喊声欢迎他们！首先，我们要介绍的是去年总决赛的亚军战队，欢迎三星。LCK 上路单杀王 QV， 征战赛场多年的传奇打野选手 Ambition。LCK 春季赛 MVP 强力中单 Crow， 新生代 AD Carry Ruler， 团队强力指挥 CoJJ。同样欢迎替补选手 Haro 以及教练员 Edgar。现场的召唤师们，让我们再一次欢迎三星战队。接下来我们要介绍的是3届全球总决赛冠军得主卫冕冠军 SKT， 首次登上总决赛舞台，志在追逐冠军的上路胡尼，季中冠军赛 MVP 打野 Pina。3届全球总决赛冠军中单 Faker，LCK 王牌 AD Carry Ben， 3届冠军辅助 Wall。 样欢迎他们的替补选手 Blank 以及教练 Kuma。让我们再一次欢迎 SK Telecom T1。英雄志逐传奇2017英雄联盟全球总决赛现在开始。
They are the undisputed best team in the world. The SKT reign continues. They win their third world championship.
오히려 SK를 거의 다 잡았을 때 보통 상대 팀들이 무너지더라고요. 저희도 그랬었고. 그래서 이번에는 그때의 경험을 토대로 그렇게 무너지지 않을 수 있을 것 같아요.
This is a war.
올체 우승컵을 들기 위해서 이 팀에 왔고 작년에 더 아쉬움이 많아서 월즈에 그 아쉬움이 너무 많아서 꼭 우승컵 한번 들어보고 싶습니다.
This is a war.
그 이기고 우승한다는 게 약간 꿈 같은, 약간 되게 멀리 느껴지는 얘기였다면 올해 같은 경우에는 좀 더 작년보다 좀 더 한 발자국 더 가까워 보이는 듯한 느낌이 들어요.
아마 저희 팀이 이렇게 3연승을 하면 저는 그거는 다른 팀이 절대 못 깰 거라는 생각을 많이 했어요. 그래서 역사에 이름을 하나 쓰는 게 되지 않을까 싶어서 네, 저한테는 굉장히 명예로운 일이 될 것 같아요.
이렇게 되는 게 좀 신기하기도 하고 이제 한 번 더 만나서 복수할 기회가 왔다는 게 또 좋기도 하고 그냥 저희가 더 잘해야 되는 수밖에 없을 것 같아요.
SKT are the best team to ever play League of Legends, and that man has been there for all of it. Kingme, a quadra kill for Samsung mid laner. Samsung Galaxy defying expectations. And who can really stop this team? Uni goes for the Mega North, the triple stun, here's the follow through. SKT are headed to their 4th World Championship final. Triple kill picked up for Runa, and Samsung Galaxy set their sights on the Summoners Cup and qualify for a rematch with SK Telecom.
From the chaos, open your arms. I'm your neighbor. This is the war. Oh, yeah, this is the
Welcome back to the championship match here in the Bird's Nest. I'm James Dash Patterson, joined by Chris Papa Smithy Smith, Joshua Jat Leesman, and Isaac Azael Cummings Bentley. I knew about Jay Chow. I knew about Against the Current. No one told me about the Dragon. What was that?
I didn't know about the Dragon either. That was nuts.
That took me so off guard, but what an opening for this stadium, for this arena. Again, as those two teams stepped out on the stage, I can only imagine what overcame them, seeing the sea of people and hearing the crowd react to them stepping on stage.
Yeah, just being able to now refocus. They're running through their checklist on stage right now, getting ready so we can get in the picks and bans for that first game. And it's just about finding your zone. It's just like any other game. You have to think that way. Once you're in Summoner's Rift, it's the same.
And as they're getting ready, we're getting ready too. It wouldn't be a true final if we weren't joined by our partners from the LPL broadcast, Brazil's CB LOL, and the crews from the LCK alongside 7 other regions who help bring the action to fans across the globe. Here they are now. I love to see the energy and action from all of them. Now to appreciate the runs that these teams took to get here. Let's take a brief look at the bracket. SKT, they arrived to Beijing after winning back-to-back 5-game series against Misfits and RNG, while Samsung Galaxy, they pulled off the upset against Longzhou and closed out a 4-game series against Team WE.
And I've got to say, this has been the most exciting knockout stage we have ever had. Super competitive in the quarterfinals and the semifinals. It has just been a treat to watch.
Yeah, it's the most number of total games we've had up until this point in a World Championship, and I'm hoping for 5 today.
And I think it might be the best Worlds ever, guys. We haven't even seen the grand final yet with the innovation, with all the teams, with all the grandeur here. This has been amazing.
Crazy
Worlds.
day we get to say that, right? Now, looking at the first rematch in a World Final, what about this matchup has changed since 2016?
Well, SKT's had to play more games. One more game to get to the finals, but we've said they've looked a lot more vulnerable. And also, Samsung is no longer a massive underdog. But looking at SKT's path right there, the one loss was actually to AHQ when they fell to a Fizz that was blind picked in there. Then it got to the bracket stage for these guys. They had that incredibly close game against Misfits where they got caught up by a few surprise picks in the Leona that really stands out. And then also another incredibly close series against RNG. There have been 4 individual games that if SKT would have lost, they would not have been on this stage today. Elimination games, they're 4-0.
And to me, so much of it has been about Faker, as it always is. But this year, when they've needed him most, he has played better than ever before, which I honestly didn't really think was possible.
Let's look at the flip side of the matchup. Papa Smithy, talk to me about Samsung Galaxy's path over this last 12 months.
I mean, honestly, 2 years in a row, they come in 3rd seed in terms of fan expectation. Longzhou was supposed to be the big new dog here, but unfortunately fell to Samsung in the quarterfinals. SKT are back. But that expectation, the reform this year, just their level up from group stages to knockout has been a treat to see because we haven't seen the final form of Samsung Galaxy in the LCK. I think we're seeing it at Worlds this time around.
And it's going to be so exciting to find out if no one can crack the case. You know, can SKT show you a way to beat it? Because in the knockout stage so far, Samsung have looked pretty untouchable.
I mean, unlike last year's matchups, there are actual questions about whether or not SKT is even favored in the series coming into it. And that, to me, is an absolutely crazy thing to say. But I do, as we take a look at Samsung Galaxy's road to get here, not as easy a road in terms of the group stage. They were up against Royal Never Give Up as well as G2 Esports from the European LCS.
Yeah, looking at this one, it has been a rocky group stage, but their path to finals more dominant than anyone else with a 3-0 over Longzhou and a 3-1 against Team WE.
And that's why we return to your point, Azael, about whether or not anyone has cracked the code. Has anyone figured out how to beat Samsung's strategy? And that will be for SKT to show us, chat.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if SKT has settled on a strategy because I know they tried to pull out the Leona from the Misfits series. They also were doing a bunch of late-game hyperscaling in the group stage. But to me, I think they may have settled on Huni playing for his lane and everyone else trying to play around Huni. That, I think, has been when they have looked at their best, and that's what they needed to do to take down RNG in the semis.
I know in previous years, the fact that they were bringing out new stuff in semis wouldn't have fazed me. I would have thought, okay, they're still holding on for some special stuff specifically for the final. But this year, it does feel like the SKT bag of tricks has been drawn to its absolute minimum. They really have had to show time and time again in having to play all 16 games to get here that basically everything has been thrown out there. And now they kind of have to reel back and decide which of it is actually suitable for their opponent today because not everything will work against Samsung Galaxy.
It really is such a juxtaposition because it's this team that have had to reach and to grab and to find new strategies and to figure things out as they've gone along. And for Samsung, it's been all about control. It's been all about playing this very measured style and damn near perfecting it. They have looked so good at controlling the game, at limiting their opponent's opportunities, and more importantly, limiting their mistakes.
And we talk a little bit about the styles. Let's talk about a few of the key matchups. Let's go straight to the top by Kuve and Huni.
Yeah, that's really a featured matchup for this one. Even though last year it would be Faker Crown, both these teams have played heavily through their top laners. They have 2 of the 3 highest damage percentages in the tournament. You can see Huni, a 46% forward percentage. That's the percentage of time he's beyond the halfway point in his lane. And he actually doesn't get that much help from his jungle. He's just playing that on his own.
He has one style. He needs to play for himself. He needs to get advantages around his lane. Whereas Kuve kind of has the tougher job of both picking to contain Huni in the top lane, but also roam around. He's entrusted in getting the bot lane ahead, and when they get that bot lane turret, 5 out of 6 times in their wins, bot lane turret into the rest of the map falling. It's very structured for Samsung Galaxy.
And then I think the question to me becomes, can Huni make Kuve play his game? Can he force him to stay in a side lane the whole time? If you can establish enough pressure, if you can get strong enough on your own in one of these split push focus picks, you can make the person stay there and do nothing but answer you.
All while realizing that the more attention gets thrown to the top lane, what that changes for the rest of the map, right? We've talked about the bot lanes and how, to a degree, some of them have suffered based on Huni's play style.
Yeah, and we've discussed this a lot. Neither of these teams' bottom lanes have been the bottom lanes of everyone else where everyone just crashes down there constantly. No, these teams have been playing 4-1. They're drawing attention away from that area and just trying to spread the map out a lot more than everyone else.
And while Kuve's job might not be easy in trying to contain Huni, let's talk about another player who definitely does not have an easy job for himself today. That would be Crown in the mid lane up against Faker. We've already kind of teased that, you know, the fact that in 2016 it was all about whether or not Crown can beat Faker, can rise above him. But it seems like it's a different matchup, a different objective this time around, Azael.
Yeah, you can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. And I think that's going to be the assignment here for Crown. He really just needs to pick intelligently, to play to follow Faker around the map, try to match what he does, push him in, these sorts of things. You can't let Faker do what he wants to do because he will take over the game.
I mean, he's been Superman in some of these games, the Galio games against RNG, papering over 2v2 problems, papering over Huni losing lane and trying to visit. So getting him off any of these first roam champions like the Galio, maybe even the Taliyah, I think so important for Samsung.
And I think for Crown, he has a good mindset coming into this year's Worlds, better than what he had last year when he was thinking he was going to have to be the Faker killer. No, he just has to allow his team to be the Faker killer. Match whatever you can in the mid lane and just relax.
All right, now it's that time. It's that question of the evening, gentlemen. Get ready. Do you think Samsung Galaxy has what it takes to disrupt the reign of SK Telecom T1 here in the Bird's Nest of all places? Papa Smithy, we're going to start with you.
You know, every time we're in this spot where there's SKTT1 in the grand final, we tell you a familiar story, and by you I mean the viewers, of a team that started very vulnerable in the group stage, this Korean team. They had to adapt. But by the time they hit the knockout stage, they started steamrolling the competition and were very quickly front runners for the Summoners Cup. And I think we have that sleeping giant in the final. But to me, for once, it's not SK Telecom T1. I actually think that Samsung Galaxy, with their obliteration of Longzhu Gaming and then backing it up by denying late-game team fights from Team WE, are going to be good enough, even with Faker playing amazing, even with the clutch nature of SKT. I think Samsung's going to take it.
Papa says the reign ends here. Jat, what are you thinking?
He did the switcheroo with his story there. I really like that. Yeah, never bet against, and I'm not going to switcheroo SKT, is the saying that we've all come to learn because of how clutch they are in the big moments. And I agree, if we look at the knockout stage, you'd say Samsung has looked stronger. But that's because SKT hasn't necessarily settled on a strategy. They've lost a game to Blitzcrank, they've lost a game to Leona, they've lost a game to Vayne. Other than that, that's one loss in the knockout stage. And I don't think Samsung is going to bring that same level of surprise. I think they're actually going to bring a level of familiarity to SKT. You look at the LCK playoffs, SKT 3 over Samsung. I think it's definitely a closer matchup here, and it's going to be 3-2 for SKT tonight.
There you have it.
I think it's really tough to call. SKT has shown weakness this tournament. Ineffective jungling, poor laning phases from Bang & Wolf, but they've also shown us a lot of strength. Excellent team fighting. The best mid lane play we have ever seen in League of Legends history from Faker, and an incredibly lane dominant style from Huni. And to me, the key to beating Samsung lies in disrupting their game plan. We saw that from RNG in groups, and though Samsung did have an incredibly impressive knockout stage, both Longzhu and WE failed to do just that. And I think with 1 week of preparation, Huni's polarizing top lane play, and Faker's mid lane dominance will dictate the pace of the game and earn SKT their third straight World Championship title.
Oh my goodness, we got 5 games last year. Hopefully we get 5 more games this year. It's just about which way the scale tips as we head over to Freak, Deficio, and Kobe for the call. Bang gives us his thoughts on Faker's continued dominance at Worlds every year.
그냥 뭐 정말 그 메타가 바뀌거나 그럴 때도 가끔씩은 이제 흔들릴 때도 있는데 결국에는 마지막에는 가장 그러니까 이제 롤드컵 시리즈나 썸머 때나 이제 마지막이 다가오면 다가올수록 좀 굉장히 그 어떤 다른 미드 선수들보다 기복 없고 정점에서는 마지막에는 결국 정점에서는 그런 선수인 것 같아요.
Welcome to the Caster Desk, ladies and gentlemen, for the 2017 League of Legends World Championship. My name is David Freak Turley, joined here by my 2 wonderful analysts, Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler, Martin Deficio Lunga. And the question I have is, are we crowning a new world champion today?
Ooh, you're asking us to predict now? We're not on the analyst desk, but I think it's likely. I think Samsung are looking so good at the moment.
Exactly. I mean, one of the things that Ambition said in his interview that was so telling was that last time they faced SK Telecom, they felt the need to have surprise picks to actually overcome this legend that is SKT. But this time around, it actually feels like SK Telecom have been the ones reaching for new picks.
Exactly, and it also feels like it's SKT who needs to look at Samsung and say, okay, how do we beat their current strategy? Because it's been so good during the knockout stages here. We have seen a lot of focus around strong bot lane picks. You have Ambition, who's controlling the jungle and the vision. And on SKT's side, it's been just about Faker mainly, and the fact that he can carry this team all the way to a final.
So the question is it the SKT clutch factor, or is it Samsung Galaxy, who are looking actually a bit better? And I want to actually liken this to the 2014 run of Samsung White, where they didn't have a domestic title, but people called them the best team in the world coming into it. And they smashed the Korean champions Samsung Blue 3-0 in the semifinal. And here's Samsung Galaxy smashing the Korean champions Longju in the quarterfinal and heading in with a 6-1 game record throughout the top 8. Here, likely the favorites against SKT in the final.
All right, we're jumping straight into the pick and ban phase here of game 1. Jace, Rakan, and Sejuani already banned by Samsung.
Yeah, Huni has had target Jace bans all throughout this tournament. He's actually played Jace more than any of the other top laners and has been a huge part of SK Telecom's early side pressure that they've been getting.
I think Samsung were ready for a potential first pick Galio, and that's why they banned the Sejuani on blue side. SKT, of course, removing Kalista as well.
Yeah, Janna here is the obvious one that has not gone through, though, and Samsung will be very happy to pick this one up. Janna has been a champion that every single team in this meta has been so happy to build a composition around.
Now, we, Kobe, were talking a lot about Varus as a key pick here because Samsung has focused so much on having that strong bot lane.
Yeah, we watched the VODs of their match versus Team WE, and it was all about Ruler getting this pick so early on that they were able to have bottom lane control and then bring in the other parts, the top lane of the Shen pick or the mid lane from the Galio to play around that bottom lane and get snowballing.
And Quickshot talked to Koma before the games. We saw it in the pre-show. Koma said they need to find a way to stop Samsung's bot lane from winning early on. That is why they picked the Varus so early here for Bang, to try and make sure he's not losing the bottom lane. But I like the Xayah pick here from Samsung and the Malzahar.
Early priority on Malzahar. You'd expect Jarvan based in the tier list to match up the jungle against Peanut here. They're not going for it.
Yeah, exactly. Samsung are not a big Jarvan team. Ambition is not a big fan of it. They don't really play top lane either at the moment. So they let it go, and normally they like Kha'Zix or Lee Sin instead of the Jarvan.
And it's very interesting that they're willing to early pick this Malzahar for Crown, because Crown has been a huge discussion point for Samsung Galaxy this year. Whereas you remember back to last year in the finals, Crown was one of the best players on the team and a huge part of trying to take down Faker. He even got the solo kill on Faker in game number 1. But Malzahar is this champion. You're not looking for solo kills. You're looking even at a CS deficit early on and being more useful later.
And you bring Engage for your team, which is really good against split pushers like Huni. If you can always force a fight in the mid to late game, Huni has to TP in and join, and his split pushing days are over. SKT, though, they actually removed the Jarvan here, so Ambition can still go for either Kha'Zix or Lee Sin as one of his preferred choices in the jungle. I like the Syndra ban.
Again, if we're seeing a lot of top lane bans as well, Gnar really comes to the forefront of my mind. Because they've already banned out the Jace, this is a very possible blind pick. Everybody willing to play this champion into any other matchups besides the Jace, and with the Shen also being banned out, it does look like that will be a split push advantage.
We're probably going to get the Kennen here coming in from Cuvee. That is normally the answer to Gnar up in the top lane.
His answer. Almost no one else plays it,
well,
but
his answer
it's
then.
what he does. AP Kennen.
He's the meta now.
And
he is.
There's a reason for that, because to me it is a very risky answer. Yes, AP Kennen can have some team fight interactions here, but especially just 1v1 with the Gnar, jungler advantage means a huge amount in that matchup, and these top laners have not gotten a lot of jungler intervention.
All right, and here we are in the ends of champs. Like you can see where all the champions have gone. Cassiopeia in the mid lane for Faker. Wolf on his 8th Lulu game of the tournament. He's played 9 unique champions and almost half an hour on Lulu here. He is on comfort.
Cassiopeia as well coming in last here from Faker. He saw the blind Malzahar and said, you know what? I can destroy that guy in the laning phase. We've not seen a lot of Cassiopeia in the knockout stage, but it is still such a powerful laner if you are good with the champion.
Yeah, and we do have Peanut on the Gragas as well. So much about early game in the current meta has these two roles linked. We've said so many times throughout this tournament, is a lot about mid and jungle in the early game, and then you can start to transition that through to Vision, which does get that bottom lane control we always come back to.
Exactly, and the plan here makes a lot of sense from SKT's side, as we have a little bit of confusion of how far away do you walk for the handshake when the coach is all the way on the other side of the stage?
Well, it's a long track here. They're going to learn, and you heard Dash talk about the 100-meter dash earlier with this one. Maybe they can run a quarter mile back and forth to their teams and the coaches.
I think they're just worried the dragon was going to come back. That is a healthy amount of respect given.
Still though, spawn till 35 minutes. They're okay for now.
They're okay for now. I look at the SKT drafter and I'm like, okay, they identify, get a winning mid lane matchup for Faker, get a bot lane matchup that can go even at least against Samsung, and they got that in this draft here. Luluvarus is so strong in the 2v2 lane, and the Cassiopeia can win early.
And we'll have to continue to check in on the top lane 1 versus 1. Huni into Cuvées Kennen.
Game 1 of the 2017 League of Legends World Championship Final about to begin. We are on to Summoner's Rift, and it is going to be a barn burner of a match. SK Telecom T1, 3-time world champions, looking for number 4. Samsung Galaxy were a game away from dethroning them this time last year, and now in front of an even larger crowd in Beijing, China, hoping to be the second Samsung team to win Worlds.
In order to do that, they are definitely going to have to deal with this mid lane. Faker on Cassiopeia is one of the player and champion combinations that have been the most brutal for the opposing mid laner. Crown now is going to have a lot of defensive work to do. Cassiopeia can take off the shield very easily with the spam ability of her spells and then continue to punish him, because Malzahar, very few options for trading early on.
That's also where I get a little bit scared when I see Ambition on Zac, because Zac's early game is not very good either. It's not a strong 2v2 fight around the mid lane from Samsung until later in the game. They definitely need a Malzahar ulti and probably even more to actually beat the Cassiopeia and Gragas. So SKT will get that control they're looking for.
Of note, you're seeing the bot laners very focused on keeping the marksman alive, barrier heal on both of these squads right here. One of the fun innovations, I guess we can say, about Worlds so far this year. Our defense have been popular. Bot lane's been a very important lane, and keying very heavily on keeping those marksmen alive in the team fights. Ruler and Bang have been 2 of the world's best for quite a long time. We'll see how much they can put in this game.
And with Peanut getting the leash on top side, starting red and heading downward, Bang and Wolf get the early control of this bottom side. You can see the first thing that Wolf goes for is the brush control on the side lane to try and threaten Ruler there. And he did miss the last hits, so the early gold advantage over to the Varus lane here with Lulu on the brush control.
Everything counts in the early game.
20 gold.
You can, but more importantly for SKT, they're trying to get that early push in their favor after Samsung comes a little bit later to the lane here. Meanwhile, though, look at mid lane. Faker's already pushing Crown to his own turret, level 1.
And we talk about this matchup a little bit more in depth. Whenever we speak with any of the mid laners, the biggest frustrations with Malzahar and why we don't see him picked more frequently is the difficulty with CSing early. So the theory here for Faker, behind just shoving the wave into the turret, is that Malzahar already isn't able to get those last hits, and it makes it even more difficult as the turret shots are coming through. But that being said, Crown actually doing okay getting those last hits.
And then we have to add on that Malzahar's damage in the early game before his ulti is ready is not very high. It's easy for Cassiopeia to kill the small Voidlings and then simply out-trade Crown.
And we're seeing that jungle and mid lane link on display here already as Peanut goes for a bottom lane invade, drops his ward at the Raptor Pit, and then gets vision with Q first. So he's checking all of the boxes, being safe and looking both ways before he crosses the Krug camp.
Gets to cook it. He doesn't waste the W active on the Blast Cone. That's a coded interaction with the ability. So everything's ready. He's going to be just fine taking away Krug. That's easy to do. Ambition on his first recall should have enough for the Poacher's Knife. And now we're going to see CoreJJ sees him and pushes them back over the wall.
All right, Peanut will be safe for now. Now, a big thing about Samsung in the knockout stage of Worlds was they tried to play more for the early and mid game. They stopped playing just for late game team fights, and it was so focused around strong bot lanes. because then Ambition will play bottom side. See what happens mid first, though, because Peanut is on his way.
Damage out of the silence. Crown's going to have his teammate coming in soon enough. But look at Faker taking plenty of damage. That's just the easy outplay 1v1. Crown gets out and he sees Peanuts nearby.
You have to be very careful chasing into Malzahar when those Voidlings are up, especially since there's not vision to know that Zac is not going to be there for a counter gank. So that's why Faker pulls off on the aggression and does not continue the chase.
Even if Faker does pull back on the aggression, bot lane's been looking good for SKT, a farm lead for them. Now the engage of the silence, but just in time, bot SM comes up. Summoner heal out of Faker also to build some distance. But first, Summoner spell lost by SKT.
Some good little plays around the mid lane from Crown and Ambition, of course, joining him here. They need to do this. They need to make sure Crown does not fall too far behind. When he played the quarterfinal against Longshore and he blind picked the Malzahar, Syndra was the answer from BDD, and Crown died early on in lane. He got destroyed. Same thing cannot happen here. Yes, you can fall down in CS as long as you're staying alive and you're farming.
I want to talk about the bot lane, though. We talked about it a second ago. Bang and Wolf heavily ahead right now in the 2-on-2. Priority on Varus, the takeaway. And happy to play Lulu into Janna, a better laner but a worse team fighter. So far, that laning phase is going well.
And this again, the counter to the Samsung knockout strategy that we see here from SKT. Get a stronger 2v2 lane. Do not allow Ruler to control bottom side. Do not allow Corduday to roam early. And suddenly, Samsung don't actually have a lane on the bottom side they can play around. It's on top side where Kennen is winning.
That's why we put so much emphasis on this Varus pick for Ruler in Champion Select, and SK Telecom very clearly taking that one away. Here's some stats on your screen to just emphasize your point to Fischio as far as the way that Samsung like to play it.
Yeah, this is against other teams in the top 8, against the South Korean champions and long to the 3-0 there with 3 Tristana games, a bunch of Varus ones against Mystic and Co from Team WE. This had been a formula for success in Samsung's run.
And one of the reasons for the success of the formula is the amount of rewards you can get out of that bottom lane turret if that is the first one to go. You know, with Ardent Sensor being so heavily important in this meta, you get to rotate your support and AD carry with the extra pushing power, and you kind of chain the objectives.
See top lane right now. Peanut is on the way here. Q has been pushing this lane non-stop. Peanut is spotted though, and Kennen is level 6, so you really gotta respect the potential counter gank from a Zac in there against a level 6 Kennen.
So far, so good with the wards. So you can see Ambition gonna spot his opponent as well. The ward's not gonna be knocked down, even though it was revealed by the Scryer's Bloom. And Ambition's been able to hold up pretty nicely in the mid lane, in the jungle, I should say, since he walks through the mid lane, holding a decent farm lead and getting a pretty solid recall off as well. But not any wards yet for Ambition. He didn't go for the Tracker's Knife that Peanut had.
Always a lot of value on control wards from Samsung side, and there's no vision on bottom lane here. We have actually Ambition moving down. He's
in fog.
Looking for that first gank.
And that's the flash to the bang, but now the chase on Wolf lanes the Q. The auto's gonna pull him in a bit more, but there's no follow through on that one either way. They get another flash out, and that is the second Ambition gank to force a summoner out of SKT.
Yeah, we'll see if the flash being down here on Bang does relieve some of this pressure, allow Ruler to catch up on the CS here.
There's the back around, gets plenty of damage with the Voidlings. Faker gonna force to be run away. 100 HP left on him, flashes. I think he might have been expecting E to come back from cooldown. It just did now. That is Faker now out of summoners in the mid lane.
Yeah, there were so many small Voidlings just hitting him right there, setting up a great ulti from Crown. And again, this is so important for Samsung. The Crown is not losing lane.
You have to watch the cascading effect of the aggression here. There are 2 summoner spells down on SK Telecom, the 2 most important ones of the flashes for their carries. In addition, actually, Faker's heal still not back up from the earlier visit, so Samsung do have this opening, and they will be looking to punish these carries.
We have to remember here, Malzahar only gets better the longer we get into the game. Now the ulti is available from his side after level 6, and suddenly he's quite a threat when he's roaming around, and his damage gets much, much better in the late game.
We talk about threats roaming around. I want to key into Wolf really quickly. Part of the bot lane lead is not just the CS that Bang has got, but because of the push lead, Corduday has not been able to grab all the coins. Actually, Wolf has earned several hundred more gold so far because of lane dominance.
Yeah, people talk about how broken the coin is and how effective the item is. A lot of it does hinge on actually picking up the gold that's sitting on the ground. Very good point to bring up there, Freak. And it does have huge ramifications for the early towers that we keep coming back to. Building that Ardent Sensor and being the first one to complete it greatly accelerates that confrontation.
And we talked about how SKT tried to counter the Samsung strategy of having a strong bot lane with this Lulu Varus. Well, on the top side, Cuvée right now with the counter pick is doing extremely well, and look at that. he's actually not rushing towards AP Kennen. He's building AD with fervor of battle. He's trying to become a pure split pusher to keep Huni down.
Yeah, this has been something that's incredibly important and highly and hotly debated here for these two top laners, because they have been the two most successful, but very different. As I said on the analyst test, you know, Cuvée has had the tendency to join the team for team play so much more often than Huni throughout this tournament. But now, as you said, without going the AP build here for Kennen, he would want to keep that pressure in the side lane.
Exactly. AP Kennen is much stronger when he joins team fights compared to AD Kennen, who's a pure, like, stay in your side lane and win it. And Huni had the chance to counterpick top. They could have locked in Cassiopeia earlier. They already knew it was Malzahar mid lane, but they wanted the Gnar so badly. Maybe because Huni didn't feel like he had a good answer to it in case Cuvée picked it.
Well, maybe because of the tendencies of these players, they have been able to pull off a little bit of a bait here. There's nothing saying that Huni has to continue with the other way. You know, Gnar very clearly could still join the rest of the team, and SK Telecom can pull off a very big combo with the Cassiopeia of Gragas and Gnar.
It just forces SKT to play differently, because Huni has been playing for himself, for his lane, all tournament long. It forces him now to play with the team instead. You should TP on the bottom side. Join the big team fights. We know he can do it on the Gnar. We've seen it before from him. It's just a different style we see in this first game from both teams.
And it's fun to see. I actually respect the hell out of what Samsung did right here, which is to still play things in Cuvé's wheelhouse and a style they're pretty comfortable with, but force Huni into a play style that he hasn't shown nearly as much strength with. He's always on the Jace, the split pushers, and if he does that, he will lose the game for the team. I like what Cuvée and Samsung Galaxy have done here with this.
And we have to see if the confidence Huni got from the game 5 against RNG, where he was on the Gnar, where he made the big engage after the Drake went down and SKT won that game. He needs to do the same in this first game here against Samsung.
Let's talk a little bit more about Huni, because there's an immense amount of pressure on his shoulders. SK Telecom replace a couple of players every single year. Often the top lane and the jungle, you know, have these rotations, and there's so much, you know, history that he has to fill in. You know, the shoes are very big here for Huni, and we've seen how much pressure and how much focus has been given to him here. Now, on the biggest stage that he has ever played in, will he be able to step up for the organization?
Also really feels like top lane has been the most criticized role on SKT since Marin left the team. It was hard for Duke to have the impact he wanted. We saw Untaro play during the year as well. Huni didn't play all the games on the side of SKT in 2017, and it's been hard for him to kind of lock down which kind of style do they want to play from top side. Now it is a split pushing focus, except for this game, Huni needs to join the team.
Look at the stun as the marks are timed out there, but Cuvée nearly got himself a couple hundred extra damage on the Huni, but still you can see this laning phase almost cresting plus 30 now, 12 minutes in. It is getting larger and larger throughout the game. It's beating Cuvé's statistical average when he's against a player like Huni, and Cuvée was already the #1 laner at Worlds so far in the top lane. He is doing immensely well here, but it's only keeping the game roughly equal. You can see still plus 15 in the bot lane for SKT. Faker up 10 as well.
But it's a great start on Samsung's side with the Mountain Drake, with winning top, and with the fact again that Crown is doing great in the mid lane. He's not getting punished at all for this blind big Malzahar, and Faker's trying now.
Doesn't get stunned though, and the silence means there's no more chase to be had as Faker just, you know, takes down some Voidlings, but you can see he's kind of losing these trades. This is the pick that Faker wanted. Crown blinded it early on. They gave him 2 bans in the second phase to narrow down the pool a little bit. The Faker, though, with the Cassiopeia next up, is not really doing maybe what you expect with the matchup, and here's Samsung Galaxy starting to get what they expect out of their bot lane. A lot of pressure down here.
Again, we return to that. 6 out of 7 of the first turrets for Samsung have been in the bottom lane. Ruler and Core JJ slowly whittling away at this objective.
Yeah, if you look at the items, it's the Warhammer and the BF sword for Ruler here, just stacking as much AD as possible against attack speed, and then Ninja Tappy on the side of Bang. So Bang is not really dealing much damage in return, and Ruler's just been able to take over the lane after the first few backs.
So a 13-minute first turret for Samsung Galaxy. All I saw Ambition do was a single gank that blew Bang's flash, and the rest of it was heads up 2-on-2 with an arguably weaker laning phase. SKT got counter pick and priority, and the rolls down here. So far, step 1, good for Samsung Galaxy.
So much so that Ambition even gets to move in and take away the blue buff here, as SK Telecom are just bleeding control of the map. What this then allows Samsung to do is rotate their bottom lane over to the mid lane and actually have the ability to push in Faker himself.
Yeah, Faker is trying to actually be more proactive in his lane. So QSS comes in early to use it against Crown's ulti and try and see if he can actually win the 1v1. But the 1v1 are kind of gone now because the first tower is already dead. The map is wide open. Everyone is going to start roaming around, and Faker probably won't get an easy chance to just duel Crown.
And it's double TP versus single TP, so Crown down on the bot side, of course, with that free time. You can see a blue buff stolen back by SKT is a good consolation for them. They get that same blue that Ambition had stolen earlier, and it's crucially on Faker himself. Now you've got to watch for what the lane assignments are. Samsung Galaxy putting their dual lane in the mid. The question is who can actually answer, because Crown's about to reach bot lane tier 2, and no one's getting that farm yet.
You can tell the tension rising in this game. Now the ultimate's blown for both AD carries there, but the opening of the final series here at Worlds, and both teams trying to stick to the game plan, but SKT...
They're slow on the play. They're missing half a minion wave right here. Bang just now coming in, and he can't duel a Malzahar. The Rage Plate's not dead. He's got a Blasting Wand in inventory and a Ninja Tabby. Wolf finally shows, but that is a minion wave late, and the work is starting to happen now. Samsung Galaxy playing 1-3-1 and being faster to play than SKT.
Exactly. This is a very rough spot to be in for SKT here. They're losing the map. They're losing control around mid. Rift Hell is getting started by Samsung already.
And it's the Rift Tail going to be grabbed up as well. A trade of blue buffs is fine, but they got first turret, Mountain Drake, and now Rift Tail with what's supposed to be the weaker early game jungler in Zac. He got banned out of the primary pool, his first Zac of Worlds, and Samsung Galaxy win in the early game.
And Vision had more pressure in the early game than Peanut, with the Gragas that was taken early on in the draft to also deny that from Ambition himself. And that's mid tower down now. Bot tower already died earlier. This is becoming quite a large gold lead.
Now what you want to do as soon as you get these outer turrets down for Samsung is start to clear out SK Telecom's wards, because Zac benefits so heavily from the Fog of War being able to get these big engages, and you can then follow that crowd control up with the Malzahar that we keep highlighting, who has now gotten the level 2 in his ultimate. So that is a very powerful initiation tool that Samsung would like to utilize at this stage in the game, but they have to clear out the vision of SK Telecom first.
And I like that you talk about vision so much, because between these two teams, there's a very large difference in how many control wards they actually place on the map. Samsung are amazing at getting full control and deny vision from the enemy team. And SKT, on the other hand,
they are the most extreme numbers that we researched at this entire tournament. Samsung Galaxy first place in the control wards placed during the knockout stage there, and SK Telecom almost 20 less per game in last.
Yeah, so SKT relied more on having a lot of engage in their comps. And when they then see you, even out of position or slightly out of position, they are so decisive. They engage instantly. In this game here, they have the Gragas and they have the Varus to start fights. But Ruler's ulti is there to try and prevent it, and CoreJJ's disengage.
It really is beautiful to watch Samsung's controlled style of play here. Checkbox number 1 that we mentioned, bottom lane turret, that's off the list. Then they're able to utilize all these control wards to secure the vision and go for that engage that you're talking about, Freak.
And look at this, you just see darkness on the map in so many places. Baron is not up yet, but I expect that River Fog of War to just persist for the next 3 minutes until it does spawn. Double Mountain Drake means easy to rush that one down as well. And they've got a Blade of the Ruin King top laner. If Kube joins, they've actually got a Baron Rush on their hounds. Malzahar's pretty good at it as well. This could be a lot of great things. Samsung Galaxy are so well poised as they transition into the mid and late game.
And SKT can't walk into the river because suddenly they just get Malzahar ulted and they die almost instantly. Only really Faker at this point could actually face check with his QSS, but you never want to send in your mid laner first. And the fact that SKT are now sitting with this draft here, who needed to do well in mid lane in the early game, it makes it so hard to start the next fight.
I think that we should actually toggle SK Telecom's point of view at this point with the Fog of War, just to really illustrate how Samsung get this stranglehold. And SK Telecom, even though they're known for making so many big comebacks, look how difficult that would be to mount at this point.
It's like they don't even have wards on the map at all, and they have 2 sites on the team, 1 from Lulu, 1 from Gragas. All 5 can buy control wards. Bang just picks up 1 now, but it has been darkness for so long on Samsung.
Yeah, and every time Samsung goes back to base, I want everyone to look at the inventory. And you just see so many control wards, except for Cuvee, but he's going back to base now.
Exactly, that's the point. I was bringing it up. He's recalling. Jorm's Fist and control ward.
There we go. 5 control wards once again from Samsung, and it makes it so difficult to play against them if you can't force team fights. SKT at the moment are normally very good at catching some waves in the side lanes, slow push them out, and then go back to group as 4 to 5 members and look for the big team fight. But at the moment, they're just so far behind.
Big team fight might be what it comes down to. SKT have had a lot of games like this throughout Worlds, especially the group stage where they had gone 5-1, but they had to make these 10,000 gold comebacks with miracle team fights. Now shut out of the game with all 3 outer turrets gone and down everything else as well. They might need just that.
And we need to look at it from SKT's point of view because that is the more difficult scenario here. When you're lacking vision like that, you have to use numbers advantage to make your play on the map. We just saw them push heavily with 4 members on the bottom side there towards the red quadrant to take away that red buff and try and get a single turret, their first turret of this whole game, for themselves to get some sort of gold back in their pockets, but it's at a cost.
Well, they will lose the top lane tower, as you mentioned here, but it is still fine to trade turrets when you're behind. You just need to get gold on your team, and the fact that Peanut was around bottom side, it meant that Cube couldn't step in and defend against Vega. He had to just back away.
At a very small point, there was no local gold picked up for top lane 2-2. We saw Ambition only get 125, so it's almost like you traded a turret for half a turret. The map control obviously is still great for Samsung Galaxy. They can now heavily push in top lane, and this makes it even easier to play for Baron because there's one less bastion of strength near that all-important objective that SKT can use.
It's still SK Telecom. And SK Telecom's legend, though. They always talk about how no matter how much gold they're down, no matter how much of the map they've lost control of, they never quite feel like they're actually going to lose the game, and they're always looking for the next play here. First one on the list is to try and get some sort of control so that they don't get baited around this Baron area.
And here they start marching out a bit 4 versus 4 right here, but Xayah is now recalled and the Cannon's in the bot lane, so momentarily there is a numbers lead for SKT. 4 strong, they run across a barrel to face check some brushes, a few control wards going down, but even though they've gotten some temporary vision into small parts in 30 seconds, they're probably all dead again as Samsung Galaxy sweeps out.
Yeah, and SKT are spending their time on getting this vision. Obviously, Samsung can then move in and deny it once again because Samsung are the stronger team at the moment. They don't have to fear SKT. They can let SKT place the vision, let them go back to their lanes, and then it's Samsung's turn to go into that jungle. And they can freely get rid of it, and then Crown with this Malzahar is a constant threat if someone is trying to face check.
One of the biggest differences I see in Samsung Galaxy this year compared to last year is the confidence this team has in themselves now. Solo pings here going down, but they're just able to very calmly retain control of this map and increase their gold lead here, even versus SK Telecom, you know, the champions, where most teams begin to panic and begin to feel rushed.
It is important, though, to highlight that Faker are getting a lot of farm at the moment. He's been in these side lanes. He's happy saying, you know what, I sacrificed one side of the map to go and actually pick up the CS I need to get my items. So he's still sitting on now 2 fully completed items and QSS plus tier. He's actually very strong in case a fight happens.
And his tier is basically fully stacked. It's at 720 mana right now, so as soon as he gets that Archangel Staff and turns into full Seraph's Embrace, he will have an incredible amount of damage up if he can get to that point, but it's still just that waiting game for SKT.
And the timings are working against them right now. Huni has just gone exhausted on Gnar. That means that when you transform from Mega back to Mini, there's a delay before you can build Rage back up and have the threat of the initiation. While during that time, Cube gets a full 30 seconds on the minion wave on the bottom side here and will press it up to the turret.
This is what we talked about earlier, how Huni needs to actually abandon the side lane and go join his team. Play with the 5-man group to see if they can get a team fight, and he's just catching waves in the side lane. Most other games that he played during this tournament, it was Huni who's pushing for turrets. It's Huni who's applying pressure when SKT are losing the rest of the map. Not in this game due to this AD Kennen counter pick from Samsung.
Nice little smite by Peanut, gets a little bit of gold for himself. 62 for the Giant moment. Here comes the play. They know smite was used. Peanut, though, had a second charge available. It'll be up soon enough as they get the first and only blue trinket out of Bang.
Remember that this is a Samsung Galaxy backed by 2 Mountain Drakes, and a 3rd one is on the way. Yeah. They don't have to rush at that Baron right there. They're just poking around for the cooldowns. Now that the vision is in air, let's see.
I really love the play when you start it, you bait out the blue trinket, you kill it, you go back to your mid lane, push it, and then you go back again.
Going for the play. Can he get himself in? He's suppressed. The burst damage. Oh! The play was too early.
Bloodstone goes to Samsung Galaxy. Huni TP's in, but it's 5v4. Huni doesn't have a lot of places to go. Faker likely to lose his life. The flank from AD Kennen. They've got 2, now make it 3 as Bang is forced to run away. He's chased down, he's silenced and dead. Huni can try to Baron recall out, they can't see him. But 4 for 0 to Samsung Galaxy.
SK Telecom got the Baron steal, but they forgot about Cuvee. As soon as he joins the fight and flinks around the backside, there's only one survivor, and it's Huni himself, left alone to defend.
The call, though, was good from Samsung. Go back to the Baron. When Peanut tries to steal it, you ult him with the Malzahar. But everyone seemed to stop damage on Baron itself.
They jumped on Peanut instead of saying he's suppressed. He literally cannot do anything.
Let's see it again here. When Peanut gets into the pit, Crown wants to ult him instantly. It's actually smart by Peanut to try and ult Crown away, but now Ruler is hitting the Gragas instead of the Baron. You don't need to kill Gragas, you can kill Baron.
But Ambition is the one who uses his smite early in the end there, even though the call for the whole team was to stop damage on Baron, so
it's a bad call.
Ambition really has a bit of explaining to do.
Seems like it's a split call. Do you kill the Gragas and then the Baron, or do you suppress the Gragas and kill the Baron?
And it's in moments like those where you see poise and experience really come out. That being said, 4 kills here were cleaned up on the outside from Samsung Galaxy.
It was 4 kills, but the only objective taken was that 3rd Mountain Drake. There's now a long 6-minute lull for neutral objectives, and with that Baron buff on Huni, he has a bit of pressure on the side lane. Samsung Galaxy resets on their 4,000 gold lead. We'll see what they can do next.
All right, Cuvee right now needs to be careful because we have Wolf and Peanut knock their way down to the bottom lane here, but all of Samsung coming from mid now.
The question is, what can they play for? A delayed game probably benefits SKT, letting Fakers scale up, and the only thing, again, they can push is turrets. So Samsung Galaxy need to move forward.
All that SKT want right now is Huni to get a turret and some gold with the Baron buff. He's trying on top side, but they're actually expending the teleport here from Cuvee. And again, this is still the AD Kennen, and it's extremely threatening here in the side lane.
Well, maybe some concern about being outscaled. Of course, you can't necessarily count out Janna Xayah, but a concern you can think about SKT, incredible late game team fighters in their own right. They'll push forward in this game.
That's where we've seen SKT come back so often in this tournament. They're down, 2-1 in series, and suddenly the 4th game, it's one big late game team fight, and they swing it all around, and then they win that game 5 as well. But in this game here, getting the Baron delayed Samsung, it doesn't mean SKT are suddenly winning, because they're still down in gold, 3 Mountain Drakes, and this draft from Samsung in late game fights is still scary.
Yep, don't get ahead of yourself. This is a multi-step process. SKT have completed step number 1, though. See if they actually are able to get any further in that process, because Samsung right now stabilizing, during that Baron buff and still trying to keep that lockdown on Vision that we mentioned to open up the opportunity for Zac.
Going for Faker now. He does sense it and gets away in time, but the attempt at a dive was there. Now he's in safety in pocket 4, and never mind, no fight.
Important little ward placed around that blue buff from SKT to see the move from mid to the bottom lane here, but also gotta look at SKT's items. There's still only QSS on the side of Faker. So Crown, once this flash is ready again, can flash ulti onto almost any member on SKT and they can burn that guy down.
Well, it seems like we're going to be in a lull in the action, though. Samsung Galaxy not really a team to dive. They're the ones that play around vision control and taking over the jungle. They do get a little bit of pressure in the mid lane, so they are getting these chips in. Of course, that triple Mountain Drake means those chips are giant chunks out of the turret every auto attack, but it seems like they're still going to play very patient, and we have some time to go for the next fight.
And one of the reasons for SK Telecom's confidence here, even though they have a lot of champions that require skill to pull off in these team fights, they do have an extremely powerful late game, as you mentioned before, and very well could, again, be mounting one of those huge comebacks.
And they have that experience we always talk about with SKT, and the team saying, you know what, the game is never lost. There's always a way back. Wait for one mistake, and you can punish that. We saw the Baron fight. That went in favor of SKT to get the Baron. They're now hoping that Samsung will overextend. Cuvee doesn't have teleport at the moment. Huni's TP is ready, meaning if Samsung are pushing with 4 members while Cuvee is in a side lane, there is a chance for SKT to force a fight and do what we have seen them do so often.
That moment is not right now. Huni just now is tired again, cannot go back to Mega Gnar, and insight lines with Cuvee means he can easily land a stun through his ultimate, so matched well enough. If Huni ever runs far away from the lane, that's when you can start to see those openings here. mind you, Frozen Mallet on both these top laners means a chase down is certainly viable.
SKT also needs Samsung to start pushing with the 4. Like, they can't just TP in randomly if Samsung are sitting far back on the map, so they're kind of hoping that Samsung will overextend in the mid lane. There is a ward in the mid here, just past the minion wave at the bottom of your screen. That is a potential ward for Huni to use if they can start a fight.
Remember, Faker is the member of SK Telecom that bought the early Quicksilver Sash. So even when you see Crown creeping around in the fog of war, there are still options left for Faker. All summoners available as well for both of these squads, except for the teleport on Cuvée. So much of this snowball will be determined by the next play, the big team fight that is set up here.
And we can see what we talked about earlier with SKT through the group stage, that blue line at the bottom. Again, this was that's their goal on average when they went 5-1. Right? They won almost all of those games. They were able to get these comebacks, and as you can kind of tell from the numbers, those aren't that gigantic. Neither really is SKT's deficit here. They have come back from worse, but what matters is the next minute right here. As Baron's coming up, the 4th Drake as well. It's about Samsung's mantra, vision control, make it darkness, play for that play one more time.
What's also important about that goal graph is how SKT in the semifinal against RNG did not fall really far behind like we have seen in the group stages. They had obviously the game 3 where everything went wrong against Uzi's Vayne, but apart from that, SKT had better early games and were more even when they moved towards the later stages of the game. This first game against Samsung, they straight up lost early game. Lost the first turrets, couldn't kill the Malzahar in the mid lane, and they've been behind all game long because of that.
So this is now the moment that starts to matter again. We had that 6-minute lull when SKT stole the Baron, and a mid lane 2-2 fell, and that was it. It's now about this one. The summoners being up, the ultimates available, the vision control, Cuvée on his red buff. It's Samsung's game to play, and it's up to what tactics they want to use to wedge this game open.
That moment approaching quickly here. Baron now spawning, and this is the triple Mountain Drake. This changes the game so much, depending on the spawns here. Samsung can annihilate this Baron incredibly quickly. So you have to set up the play by getting Cuvée splitting on the bottom side to mount that pressure and force SK Telecom into the difficult choice.
And Huni is here already because he's trying to get control of the mid lane, trying to allow SKT to push the wave and actually walk into the Baron area through the river so they can kill some of these control wards. But now, SKT were not there to commit, and now Huni has to go back to the bottom lane, and it's actually Cuvée who can either take tower or move to mid himself and get Samsung full control.
And once again, it will be mini Gnar as Huni's form times out. You're going to have a little bit of time for Cuvée with the minions. They now see Huni is there. They know he's back in a mini. They know a TP is not a threat from him. And you can see Kennen far away, waiting for maybe a TP location. Though the damage is not high, the crowd control is still the same out of AD Kennen, and he can lock in SKT if they do want a team fight.
Huni getting locked up into the 1v1 here. He does not want with Cuvée having double buffs at the moment. And Samsung apply the pressure.
So fast damage up, but not even a chance. They played the vision. They pushed the team away. There was no TP flank to be had. Well played, Samsung Galaxy.
It's such a great setup. You get full control of top lane and mid lane, where you have the minions pushing for you. So the enemy team can't walk into the river. They can only show up behind the Baron. But we saw Samsung right there have the vision control, burn down the Baron with 3 Mountain Drakes, and SKT, they cannot react. And suddenly, we sit with Samsung's Mountain Drakes and Baron buff. They're now looking for that inhib.
I want to see really quickly the dregs of the SKT vision, because obviously they had no chance at all of checking it, and you can see just how deep their wards even were. They saw their own red buff, and that was it. Any of those brushes could have had Schrodinger's Malzahar in it, and it would have been a dead to anyone but Faker if they had base checked it.
Still only one QSS on the side of SKT.
Yeah, as Malzahar, very often, especially late game, the better option to just ultimate the front line, get your percentage damage down, and make sure that you're safe as far as the tank-to-tank battle. Try and work your way through.
And Ruler's big, keep in mind, he's at 70% crit Infinity Edge in. He will melt through this front line. His individual gold lead is 5,000 over pretty much any of the tanks of SKT, and that's Peanut, who went Merc Treads, which doesn't defend, and also going for Nightspell, which is not a good self-defensive item either. Mid lane now under fire, another turret fall.
They burn it down so fast, and Samsung right now are not looking for big team fights. They're playing the map. It's only 4 kills to 0, 33 minutes, and SKT not even getting a kill, and only getting 1 tower.
Samsung Galaxy have worked their entire year to get back to this moment. Their rematch with SK Telecom, and they're opening it with a very confident game number 1 here. Moments away from cracking the inhibitors.
They're making a statement in the first game. They're not afraid of SKT drafting a bit more for the early game. They're fine blind picking a Malzahar as well. And they're not giving SKT any chance to engage these fights here. Ruler, with his ulti on Xayah, is so confident in the front line. Bang is trying now.
Going for the damage on Ambition. The tank, though, still at 1,500 health. Ambition rich enough. He's actually got about as much as Bang does individually gold-wise. And there's just no play to be had. We saw Bang toss the ulti out. Couldn't find anything with it. And back we are now in mid lane siege.
Xayah Janna is just so incredibly safe because of the ultimates of these two champions and the answers that they have for any sort of SK Telecom threat that tries to get back there to deal with that damage source. You talk about the gold leads on him, Freak. It's absolutely insane, the difference he can put out. And SKT almost feel like their only option is go after the split pusher instead.
They slowed down. He doesn't have a lot of ways out of this one. Finds
Finds
some time. Look for Huni. Can't quite get on the shields. Are in time for Wolf, the redemption as well. The top lane still being attacked. That turret down to half HP. Ruler still feels safe. No longer blocked down by the miasma of Cassiopeia, and now another inhibitor has been made open for Samsung Galaxy.
It's the perfect game for Samsung to get all of these mountain drakes because, again, they're playing the map. They're constantly pulling SKT around to multiple lanes. This cannon here can take down a tower. We've seen Ruler multiple times now just stand in the front, hit the tower a few times, and it dies so fast.
Yeah, Samsung Galaxy love risk-free gameplay. Not overstaying here for the second inhibitor, backing off as soon as that one is complete, and Cuvée gets to pick up the Ocean Drake.
Also very important if we look back at how SKT have been winning a lot of games through Faker. It's been when he's been on champions that has some global. Taliyah, Galio, champions where you can impact multiple lanes at the same time. The Cassiopeia cannot do that. That's focused on you winning your lane in mid, and that is what Samsung were looking for. So Faker is suddenly not bot, top, and mid at the same time.
It is truly something to highlight in this matchup. Even though SK Telecom have Faker, the greatest player of all time, the brightest star, Samsung Galaxy pride themselves most on their team play and their coordination.
And it doesn't matter if you're the greatest player in the world if you never get to fight anyone. If you never actually get to use your mechanics and your skills, because the team you're playing against are like, yeah, no, we don't need to fight you, we just run around you.
And of course, Ambition has, I think, cleanly out-jungled Peanut so far in this game. Poor JJ and the rest of the squad have had better vision control than SKT as well. And that Samsung Galaxy style, the one they brought to Worlds, perfected throughout these years. They're going to play in the top jungle, not going to find that one as Ambition gets away with quick reflexes and walks away from the barrel. The siege can continue top lane.
Seen twice now Bang trying to fire that ulti here to start a fight in the last few minutes.
A bit flash ult, and it's going to beat the Quicksilver Sash out, but it's just a trade of flash ulti for an active item, and Ruler is completely fine.
Meanwhile, on the bottom side, Cuvée takes his toll. He's inside the base, and there they go!
Going for another one. Crown does kite away, but the Let's Bounce brings Ambition back into safety. Another bit of poke out from Bang, and it does not matter. The top inhibitor dies, and simply there is no fight to be had for SKT. The bottom gone as well. SKT's base in shambles. And the fight continues as Bang now forced back away. Ruler safe enough. Kites away from Faker. Good damage here. Gets the knockup. A bit of healing as well. The barrier pop of Faker. Almost gets himself the solo kill. Now forced to run away, but kites forward. Gets away from the knockup. Gets rooted in, and Crown gets himself that kill in the mid lane. 5-0 in the game as they keep pushing forward. Super Minions in tow.
Samsung Galaxy only give up one turret this entire game and absolutely dominate SK Telecom.
A complete domination to this one. They look for a couple more kills to pad the stats, but there is no way back to this one for SKT. The slicing Maelstrom in there. 7-0 in the game. 2 more to go. Samsung Galaxy strike down SKT in the first.
Almost a perfect game opener from Samsung Galaxy. What a resounding statement here they've made.
And it all starts in the early game. SKT trying to counter the Samsung strategy. They try to pick a strong bot lane that can win. They try to pick a strong counter pick in mid that can win. Beat Crown, get Faker ahead so he can take over the game. But SKT got outplayed in the early game in this first one here.
During LCK in the summer this year, every time that these two teams had matched up previously and Ruler had Varus, they won. Every time he did not have Varus, they lost. But now they've broken the trend. And you
Sure.
could definitely put Xayah up there for him.
What you can say for trends, though, is this lineup, since Summer Split onwards, these 5 players are now 5-0 in games against SKT when they lost in the postseason. That was different players. They had decided to play Haru, but it seems like having ambition there. The voice is so important alongside this bot lane. This lineup, 5 games in a row, wins against SKT.
And some of these struggles we have seen regarding SKT's early game showed themselves in the first game here as well. Peanut did not have an impact at all on this Gragas here. Ambition was more active on a Zac in the early game than the Gragas here from SKT's side. Faker didn't win his lane hard enough. Bot lane suddenly, after a few items, couldn't actually do anything, and you start losing across the entire board because Cuvee was controlling top side all game long.
Yeah, one of the biggest things we always talk about with Ambition is his in-game leadership and how much he brings to this team. So you can forgive things like the Baron being stolen by Peanut in that sort of brief breather that the SK Telecom were able to get for themselves.
Well, game 1 went to Samsung Galaxy. Now to get their thoughts on how that first blow was struck, let's send it over to Dash and the analysts.
Thank you very much, Freak. We said that Samsung Galaxy was going to have to play with confidence in order to stack up against the likes of SK Telecom T1. And that's exactly how you come away with a near-perfect game in the first game of a best-of-5 here on the world stage.
I mean, it was quintessential Samsung Galaxy from knockout stage onwards. This was the team I evaluated my prediction on. And to see them executing and see SKT from the draft phase faltering, in my opinion, maybe not taking advantage of what worked for them before, was a surprise for game 1 of a World Final.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a strange draft for a number of reasons, but when you're just looking at the order of this draft phase, when they do the Varus and Gragas from SKT stand, 2 purely denial picks. They could have taken Jarvan for Peanut. They also don't need to have Bang on Varus. That was kind of all in, saying that they'd be able to beat whatever Samsung has left, but no, Samsung had plenty left.
I mean, peculiar strategy out of SK Telecom there, but Azeo, we had a lot of questions about how the top laners would interact in the series, and some of those questions, they were answered right away here in Champs, like Kennen versus Gnar.
Yeah, they certainly were, and I think it's so interesting to see not only did he go for the Kennen, but this was not the AP Kennen where you get a lane advantage and you transition to the team fight. This was Cuvee picking purely for the 1v1, building purely for the 1v1, AD Kennen, Fervor. He goes for a PD, he's going direct 1v1 build, right? This is as much of a focus at Huni and his style as you can get.
And it was also in the playstyle because, sure, AD Kennen beats Gnar even more than AP Kennen, but he was teleporting back to lane. He wasn't even thinking about teleporting bot lane as had been his trend, walking back to lane, holding onto the TP. He was so excited to get back into lane and to keeping Huni down. And Huni was a non-factor this game because Kennen answered him so cleanly.
Yeah, and it was a style play there from Cuvee, right? We know that Gnar was a priority pick for both of these teams in the semifinals. So I can understand why Huni would say, give me Gnar, you're not going to beat it. But specifically Cuvee altering his style a little bit to then just be better at Huni than Huni. So he did a really good job in that game. And, yes, there was a lot of other things that happened, but the fact that they got so much control of that top lane was really critical.
And to be fair, that is the counter pick for Cuvee, right? He had the counter pick there. They gave the counter pick over to Faker, and I actually thought for the first time really that I can think of this tournament, he actually played the laning phase pretty poorly in the 1v1 with this counter pick that he had. Multiple times we saw Faker charging forward into Voidlings that are spawning extras on him, that are putting so much damage on him. When his flash is forced, it's because he's charging forward into Voidlings and getting ulted. And it seemed like he was trying to push too hard in a matchup where you have to play patiently and kind of find your opportunity against Malzahar.
And I want to examine the pick ban a little bit because Faker was, as you say, the one that got counterpicked, same as Cuvee got on the side of Samsung. What worked for SKT previously was Taliyah, was Galio, was Ryze, the roaming champions. Galio was banned by SKT, not an option. Malzahar blind pick, which is a new thing when it comes to the first round of the draft. It denies Ryze as an option because Malzahar really wins that lane very hard in the 1v1. Taliyah was available, ended up being banned in the second round. This actually forced Faker to play through his own lane. Cassio isn't going to have that same map impact. They weren't able to play through Faker. As the casters said so eloquently, Faker was a non-factor because they couldn't snowball him. And in the end, his play didn't matter.
I mean, Huni, a non-factor because Kuve had control of the lane. Faker, a non-factor because Crown had control of the lane. You even jumped down to the bottom lane. That was the first turret to go down. So Core JJ and Ruler able to apply the pressure in that lane. Jat, you said it in the pre-show today. There is a world in which Samsung just distills their strategy down to get pushing lanes and pressure the map to a victory. There were only 5 kills in this game total, and all of them on the side of Samsung Galaxy.
And there I think you have to give some credit to Ambition because it actually was SKT with the push early on who were doing pretty well in the 2v2. Ambition comes down, he forces Varus's flash, and then that means you no longer get to push.
It almost felt like we were watching a rerun of the breakdown when it talked about Samsung Galaxy winning with no kills. Because I noted down at 20 minutes into the game, Samsung had an over 3,000 gold lead. There had been no kills. Ambition hadn't even used his ult once in the game. It was about as non-interactive as can be. But we were all sitting there from 10 minutes onwards being like, feeling the raising dread that you have to imagine SKT was feeling because it was one-way traffic.
There were only 5 kills in the game. 4 of them came in one team fight. This one around the Baron. A scary moment for Samsung Galaxy as Peanut comes up with the Baron steal, but this will be our Acer Predator replay for
Yeah,
game
and
1.
gotta point out that Crown suppresses Peanut, so he can't smite while he is suppressed. Ruler stops damage on the Baron, which makes it a 50-50. So that was like the one gap in Samsung's coordination the entire game was not securing that Baron. But then, almost as if getting the smite made SKT think they could win a fight, they couldn't. They slowly file in and they get destroyed.
No team fight, Kennen. Come on, Azael. Look at that.
Double kill.
Wow, it was
team
all
fight.
about the cannon, as you could clearly see. One of the things that is really interesting, though, and this is so much this is going back to pick ban for me, because Malzahar was blind pick, but it's not like their red side had the last pick in the first round. They chose Lulu over something like a Syndra. We saw Crown get absolutely slammed by BDD in the laning phase in that exact matchup, and Faker could have had it for himself.
Sure. Yeah, and looking at the way this one played out, going for what I feel like is the late game scaling pick in the Cassiopeia and not being able to have Faker bail out the side lanes didn't work at all for SKT. But Samsung was nearly perfect game by WE in game 1 of the semifinals. So much can change with a minor tweak to the strategy. So I think to Papa Smithy's champion pool point, get Faker back on the other stuff. Clearly the denial picks didn't work against Samsung.
As the players make their way back onto the stage, you can see the faces here of the SKT players themselves. Papa Smithy, I want to kind of refocus now into game 2. SKT, with side selection, has elected to remain on red side. No substitutions coming in. So let's talk about this a little bit.
So I was actually thinking in this game, it's like, wow, they really need to have top lane control. And now that they don't have red side again, they're going to wait. They have choice. So clearly they can choose red side because I think it's all about the top lane counter pick for them. They will most likely try and save Huni's pick for last.
And the fact of the matter is, if we're going to see another first-round blind pick mid laner from Samsung, you get the opportunity to counterpick mid lane in the first round, then counterpick top lane in the second round. So red side does have a lot of opportunities there.
It does feel like maybe this time Faker will be opting into his mid lane champion in the first round also. So 2 counter picks, I can't see it happening, but I'm so interested to see what Samsung will do and what will be prized, because I can't see first pick Janna being left open 2 games in a row.
Samsung Galaxy absolutely controlled game 1 in their rematch versus SKT. See if the reigning champs can strike back in game 2 after the break.
And you go back again, going for the play. Can he get himself in? He's suppressed. The burst damage. Oh! Peanut with the game, saving Baron steal. Peanut!
Untamed power. Limitless skill. Only one remains. Summon your strength.
welcome back for Game 2 of Samsung Galaxy versus SK Telecom T1, this Korean Civil War, as you might call it here. They had met in the LCK postseason, and SK T1 that one 3-0. But this time around, Samsung Galaxy have already struck Game 1 here. They looked completely at home here, despite being in a foreign country in China, and they are doing beautifully so far in this series.
The fact they actually managed to get first tower down the bottom lane here, Ambition Gang forced the flash, and then suddenly you had Desire with BF Sword Warhammer just taking over the lane was so key for them because they got the first tower, early game crumble from SKT, and then Samsung played their classic Samsung style, deny all the vision and just take over the map.
And Samsung made it look so easy, but really we need to highlight the level of execution with Split Push against SK Telecom.
Yeah.
This is the back-to-back defending champions they're whittling down here. They restrict them to a single tower here, no kills. All of the Drakes were controlled by Samsung. It was just such a complete victory versus such a good team that it's impressive,
It's
Freak.
impressive. Impressive is, I think, the biggest understatement you could give Samsung Galaxy for their Game 1 win right here. But what you said is exactly on the nose, where it's a complete victory. You had Huni, who came in as a big 1v1 star. You saw him amazing on Fnatic, great on Immortals, came into SKT, and at least in the top 8, had looked very good on his individual split pushes as well, and Cuvée handled him.
Exactly, where SKT tried to counter the bottom side, they ended up losing that setup, and of course Samsung tried to counter the top side, as you just highlighted, and Q-Wave won that. So suddenly, they were winning lanes everywhere on the side of Samsung, and we have to say it, SKT need to show more if they want to beat Samsung. That was not a good performance in the first game, and that's why they end up getting 1 tower, 0 kills in the first game. We need more from the world champions.
Well, we have seen them try other things. Again, I point to Wolf, where he's played 9 unique champions so far at Worlds 2017. Most of them have been on that Lulu, but we saw his Leona was successful in the World Never Give Up series in their semifinal. We'll see if they go for a hyper aggro lane, because they're certainly not going to get this Jace anytime soon. Samsung Galaxy going to keep banning that away. SKT, by the way, I want to point out, have chosen red side, which guarantees a counter pick, at least at the end of the draft. You're assuming for Huni.
Yeah, you have to assume that, and you wouldn't think that they would blind pick something like the Gnar again, especially against a guy like Cuvée. And we've talked so much about Cuvée and how amazing he has been this year, but the versatility is one of the things that you don't always quantify with stats and is so important in a best of 5.
Cuvée is the only original member on the Samsung Galaxy lineup after Samsung White and Blue exploded in 2014 or coming into 2015. Now we're straight into the pick and ban phase again. SKT once again want to do the Lulu for Janna trade, or do they have a different counter pick ready against this Janna here, the Blitzcrank, the Leona from Wolf?
And the question is, of course, because we're on the same sides, the bans, the first picks have been the same. What is it that SKT thinks that they will do different? Is it a first phase mid lane pickup to give Faker the better matchup on the Taliyah or something like this? Where does the change happen? Because I think the same draft does not win again.
If you see the Malzahar again from Crown, we might get an early Syndra from Faker in this first phase so he doesn't get banned away to destroy the lane. Or he looks to his Taliyah. Taliyah was banned last time, and it is an important one, but SKT is sticking to the exact same thing.
The run back, boys. Both coaches extremely confident in their part of the first game, and it's going to come down to the second bans. Will we get some deviation here?
So we've seen this before, which was CLG against SKT at MSI last year, and SKT won the run back just the same. It was 2-0 to the winning team. Look at the second phase bans.
Do we get a Kennen ban now if they want to take the Gnar again for Huni, or do they just last pick top lane and take the Cassiopeia earlier in the draft?
Yeah, because last time it was a Jarvan ban before the Shen. We're going to see quite possibly the same mid lane bans that was a Syndra last time. Taliyah would join that if we're going to play the same draft carbon copied. Samsung Galaxy going to play, so far, 8 picks in, 8 clicks in, the exact same stuff.
Ooh, they're putting the clamp onto Ambition here, though. Looks like they want him on a squishier champion, so that would make me think they would want to play more off that mid lane and jungle.
Okay, 2 things right here. A lot of mid laners actually like to play Malzahar against the Ryze, but Faker doesn't care. He wants a champion with an ulti that can go to side lanes. That's what Ryze can bring, a lot of pick potential and roaming. Second, they're now saving last pick for Huni. It's what we talked about. He's not taking the Gnar and letting QA play Kennen. Will Huni just grab the cannon himself, or does he place Camille?
The gauntlet has been thrown down here from Cuvée. Will Huni answer? They want to get him something strong for split pushing, and that would be the go-to pick.
Oh, he might do it.
Now, fun little fact here. They asked SK Telecom what skins they would want.
Yes!
And Huni said he wants a Yasuo skin. Now, if you want a Yasuo skin,
you better win a game with it. At Worlds, down 0-1. Kobe, I'm sorry for stealing your point, but I had to jump in. We've seen Yasuo Gnar before. Misfits did it, and it lost.
It did lose against TSM. It was fine in the laning phase, though, but they never got the Yasuo into teamfights early. Let's see. Huni right now can look to try and kill the Gnar in his lane, or he can look to roam with SKT, especially with the Gragas, and then just force fights together. Good engage from a Gragas, sets up a good ulti from a Yasuo, and suddenly, someone on Samsung will die.
And even though we put so much emphasis on knocking down the first turret and the extremity to which Samsung was able to use that gold to orchestrate the way the entire game went, SK Telecom puts all of their changes into the solo lanes here.
And so much confidence in Huni.
Yep.
We saw in the last episode of Eyes on Worlds how Huni had the gangplank against the Shen. It didn't work, and Koeman was like, listen, this is your fault. We trusted in you with this pick. The same thing is happening now. They're saying we can take the same draft almost all the way down to the last few picks, and Huni, you can actually counter-pick this Gnar and beat it with Yasuo.
Can I also just add on how crazy it is that SK Telecom opt to ban that Zac instead of, you know, the Jarvan for Ambition, so he ends up getting one of the premier picks for the entire tournament because of the range of the engage and how annoying Zac was for them.
And it is Ambition's second Jarvan game of Worlds 2017, and we are on to Summoner's Rift, and that champion on your screen right there, Huni, wants to be a champion himself. He came close 2 years ago, World semi-finalist with Fnatic. That was the European Dream Team. Best Europe's done in quite a while. And he joined Immortals on North America and never quite made it to Worlds. Came back to Korea, the team he had practiced for before, now in the World Final.
Huni has always been such a controversial figure because when he dominates so heavily on picks like this. However, when they fail in such a spectacular manner that he gets an incredible amount of flack.
Yeah, and let's then talk about the risk of picking Yasuo now that you mentioned the flack he might get. Because Yasuo in teamfights against things like Janna is very hard to play, so Huni needs to do well in the early game. We should see SKT have Peanut and Faker play on top side to make sure Huni is getting ahead.
And so much about Yasuo in the matchup is abusing the mobility advantage because you want to take advantage of this Gnar when he's in mini form. Yasuo has always been this counter pick because you get to go in for these concentrations, not restricted by cooldowns.
And Ambition has to flash away from what would have been a body slam. He locked in a fog of war, maybe a bit more than he wanted to.
And again, SKT are controlling top side. They want to try and contest this blue buff here. This is something we've seen from SKT before. What they're trying to do is split the map and say Peanut starts enemy blue buff, so Ambition will go to SKT's blue buff, and they're fighting now.
And a knock-up right there to the chase into they have what they need to knock down Cuvée. He's going to go for the wall, flash over it, but he's now late to lane, flashless, and likely TP-less as well.
Huni going to stick around as well and help out Peanut with this blue buff. And like you were talking about there, Deficio, before, we've seen this so often where junglers try and split the map here basically by taking the resources away from the top side for Ambition, so he has less incentive to go top side, and it would be a bigger opportunity cost if he actually went to try and influence that Huni matchup.
Exactly, and it suddenly means Huni can play very aggressive early on in the laning phase, knowing that his jungler is around. Ambition didn't get blue.
Yeah, it also means that it is incredibly predictable for the answer here. As soon as you take away topside blue from Ambition, he would want to go answer, steal away SKT's blue. However, the quick movement from Bang and Wolf, as well as Faker being on this rise and the power of this mid lane matchup controls it.
We did talk about Misfits before with the Yasuo. Therefore, I want to mention a jungle path you can take in Ambition's situation if you want to gank top. And that is do your wolf camp and then sneak behind the blue buff and jump over the Baron wall and appear behind Huni to surprise him. Maxlord did it. Right now, though, Ambition is just farming and he's very low.
Got no mana. He went for the machete, started 2-10-2 on Jarvan. There is no gank coming in for Ambition for a while without this blue buff. Nice little jukes coming out from Cuvée. Gets a nice trade on Huni. Pushing her turret, though, will be up and far by quite a bit.
Yeah, let's step back a little bit and look at just this lane on the top side. We talked about the Yasuo and how he wants to abuse the movement here. You want to leave one of the minions available for your E back out when the Gnar is approaching that Mega Form. So you can see him as soon as the bar started to charge up, went back out, so there was no answer trade. And as you mentioned, Freak, the blue denial from Ambition is incredibly important for Jarvan's early clear. Now he can't support that top lane matchup. Everything is so intertwined here and really does affect the solo lane matchups.
And Yasuo can also block the boomerang from Gnar, so there's no reduced cooldown on it. You're not landing any good poke, and then Yasuo is just safe, jumping around the minion wave and constantly trying to threaten you in mini-Gnar. Typically though, on the professional stage, we don't see kills level 2 and 3 in just pure 1v1 laning. Huni is getting control at the moment, but Cuvee is playing it very safe and not dying.
Take a look at the other sides of the map now, glancing into the bot lane, the exact same 2-on-2 as before, and this time around Samsung Galaxy much better in farm than they were in the first game. They were down close to 8 or so at this point last game, so a better looking 2-on-2. Big glance over the mid lane as well, and Faker right now going equal against Crown as Ambition, trying to get some vision control to make sure that Malzahar stays safe. Once again, it's double TP to a single as Crown is bringing in that teleport to Faker's heal.
And I'd like to talk about why Crown loves his Malzahar so much. This summer split has been very tough for Crown as a player. He's not been able to challenge for the spot of the best mid laner in the world. He's been shaking the laning phase, ganked very often. Fairly poor synergy between him and Ambition as well. So what Samsung have done now is they've found a champion that brings hard engage. A champion that just wants to survive the laning phase. And when you put Crown on that, as long as he's not dying early game, he will be extremely useful in the mid to late game, like we saw in the last game here. And that's what they're trying to do again with this Malzahar.
And so far he's surviving. Down 8 farm right now, but you saw him in the team fights previously. Did way more damage than Faker.
And meanwhile, you talk about Faker, and you need to look at the other side of this matchup. Faker is 7-0 all-time on Ryze at Worlds. And yes, this is multiple variations of Ryze. He's been reworked, and Faker still finds success on this champion. Now, one of the things I talked to you, Official, between last game and this game, as Faker goes for a trade.
Pretty good League of Legends, gets a nice trade down on the ground, puts him down to about 1/3 and walks away and just one-shots the Voidlings.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about, though, was Faker and mobility, and how Samsung were able to deny him mobility as far as the Taliyah and the Galio bans last time around. But Ryze does bring an element of that with his ultimate.
And I know you hate Ryze as a champion because he's been losing so many games at Worlds, but I like it when Faker plays it.
Yeah.
Because Faker is very good at using it aggressively, especially the ulti, and now he's on the way top.
There's a few seconds till Cuve's flashes back up, and he's going to be able to walk away from the turret in that time. He's got less than 5 seconds to go, but now it's some turret pressure up here with no Gnar without teleport to defend it.
And this is what we talked about early on in the game here, how Peanut and Faker will play towards the top side to make sure Huni is winning.
Exactly, you have to always keep in mind the overall big picture game plan for SK Telecom. And they're sticking to that game plan. When you pick a pick like this, you have to gain that advantage, and they're whittling it out, carving out this area on the top side. Now, below 50% health on the top turret.
And even though you're not seeing kills come through because Cuve backed up in time, it's SKT in this small microcosm winning in the way that Samsung was previously. Bloodless maybe, but knocking down a turret, getting giant farm leads, and letting the split push actually happen. Huni, with the advantageous matchup, can flip the script of what Cuve did. TP coming in now for a fight on Ambition, or at the very least, it could be the chance that, some more turret pressure as this Jarvan's forced away.
So Huni gonna use his deep teleport there. Still will get back to lane. Looks like he might actually lose out on a minion or two for that attempt. But they do secure the Gromp for Peanut, and again, still that foothold. This blue buff quadrant of Samsung's jungle. SKT keep up the pressure.
Now to swap it down to the bottom lane here, if you play a champion who can build BF Sword early against a champion who likes to build Rage Blade like Varus, it's very good for you to actually recall when you can get a BF Sword and a couple of long swords, and this other guy will get a recurve bow, maybe a pickaxe, and also his boots. And suddenly, with all that raw AD from the BF Sword, you can start winning trades. Around mid lane, Faker's trying to win a trade.
Crown not willing to burn the ultimate as Peanut is coming around, but gonna kite away cleanly enough. Here comes the knock up, the ulti across the flash over the wall though, and not a lot of damage gonna go towards Faker. The re-engage is not gonna be much, they all back out.
And this is what I love about Faker. It's not just mechanics, it's how smart he is. He knows there's a chance Crown will flash ult him and he can die. So his flash came in so early, matching Crown's flash, meaning he's actually staying alive on the other side of the wall here. So many mid laners would just have got ulted in place and potentially died to the Jarvan.
Yeah, it's a funny thing talking about Faker, especially to a lot of newer players that enter the scene. They always ask, what makes Faker so great? How has he been the best player for so long? You know, if you think about how many patches and how many different metas he has found success on, I always come back to how well he's able to predict enemies' plays and how well he's able to think into the future and cut off your best strategy seconds before you're able to execute it.
It always feels like he knows slightly more than every other mid laner about the matchups he's playing. And he's often introducing new mid lane picks as well. Let's see what happens here.
Introducing Huni to the mid lane as well, looking for a pick out of that with a knock of the chains of crowd control. Landed beautifully. First blood comes in for SKT.
Such a nice play here, using the advantage top so Huni can leave his lane, and then this surprise and no flash Malzahar with that Rise ulti.
Huni does not have teleport from the last time they used it deep into the jungle though, so Cube will push one wave into top side. I think they are happy to pay that price. Faker's Rise, now with First Blood, with the CS lead, and more importantly, control over the center of the map. Here is the Realm Warp that starts it all.
Yeah, it's a great setup with Peanut coming in as well to land the knock-up that sets up everything here for SKT. And Crown, poor guy, just wanted to get his little minions to push that wave and then back away. Instantly gets punished.
Now we reset on the map, and you can see Faker individually up 1,000 gold in his matchup. Almost the entirety of the SKT gold lead is in the hands of the best player in the world, the one who's got his own Rise skin. Not using it because he doesn't tend to use skins. His own fun little quirk about the game, but looking at the chance of a gank. Ambition coming around. They know it's a flashless Rise, but he's got heal and he walks away.
Yeah, they don't know if Peanut is in the jungle waiting for this play here. Meanwhile, we just saw the gold in the bottom lane. Like, Bang is almost on 3,000. And I talked about this before, how you really want to go back and get your BF sword and your long swords when the enemy team is just getting attack speed and you can start winning lane. That's what happened in last game, where Ruler took over the lane and got the first tower. It's not happening now. They're just farming. Bang is going to farm for his full Rage Blade before he wants to even do anything. Like, he's so happy at the moment. They're not losing anything in the bot lane.
Yeah, that's the dream scenario, Freak.
Anything between now and the next 400 gold is like you feel terrible with the Rage Blade because you got a blasting wand on a march.
Yeah, ugh.
But if you get to that 3,600, I believe, the full cost of the item, it's like the perfect power spike. It's 400 more than an Essence Reaver, but if he gets there, then all credit to Bang for controlling the lane.
Exactly, and Samsung are not able to play bottom side because Ambition is struggling in the jungle. He needs to catch up on farm, and he needs to also be ready to protect top side. Otherwise, Huni just takes that tower. Look how low the top lane tower already is.
Now, if we take a moment to look further in this game, SK Telecom could set up a play around this top turret, but Samsung have always been so good at utilizing the next step for their opponents sort of as bait and setting up that counter opportunity 30 seconds in advance, which is the duration of every minion spawn. Here comes SK Telecom control warding down bottom, and Faker roams from mid lane.
And you just saw the forced recall out of Ruler, who is actually shy about 100 gold short of what would have been Essence Reaver. Peanut now here as well, and even though that gank went so well for Huni, and they got Faker that first blood, first turret might fall bot lane instead.
It is perfect here from SKT's side. Actually, we might get a fight.
Good body slam, but look at the burst damage out of Ambition with the Yoki. Thunderlord's adding in as well. The chance of a TP for Kube canceled out, forces 3 flashes out of SKT.
A lot of flashes blown right here, but SKT continue pushing in the bottom lane. Now Ruler's back though with items. Nothing on Bang's side. He wants to go back to base as fast as possible. This will give Ruler a chance to get some damage on the bot lane tower.
It's going to be a slow recall as well. He had to kill off a cannon wave before the back without items. That's the slowest way you can do this. He'll be back late.
Ruler here trying to push up and see if he gets any of those late recalls. He actually checks that Tribush blind, but still gets the fake out here. And a Wolf actually stops his recall, delaying it slightly.
Big power spike. Frick, you are an AD carry, man.
Yeah.
You see this in the bottom lane.
That feels amazing.
It's the best feeling ever.
Now, let me set up how big of an explosion of gold is about to happen, though, because we went over how low the top turret health for Samsung is. The bottom as well, setting up an Ardent Sensor plus Rage Blade buy could again be another visit from Peanut, from Faker, who has that important control of the mid lane, just to get these objectives. You don't even have to follow through on a dive. You don't even have to follow through on a full roam. As long as they threaten and are able to get the objective, this gold lead that SKT have right now without any turrets could just explode off the map and be the opposite story we had in game number 1.
And that's why you gotta respect that SKT go into this draft in game 2 and say, yeah, the first 3 picks were fine. We're gonna do the same thing again. This time we're not gonna lose the bot lane tower early. And Then they prepared this Yasuo against Cuve's Gnar to now have a winning top side as well here. I like the adaptations with Ryze and Yasuo, and I like the fact that Bang and Wolf are able to go even in this bot lane.
Put the faith in Huni. So far, so good. He got that assist on First Blood. Mountain Drake spawning, but Samsung Galaxy not that same pressure over bot lane. And again, same matchup, and yet SKT doing much better now in the 2-on-2 as far as overall lane control. They got a bit of help from Peanut, of course. That's nice as well. But this game, though so much of it is similar, looking so differently, well aimed for SKT.
And we're seeing also Ambition on this job, and here, second time, as you said, doing the tournament. First time he played it was against WE in the first game of the semifinals. He couldn't find any early ganks. It was really too effective for him, and it kind of fell apart for him and the team. This game, he's been under so much pressure. While Ambition is a fantastic shot caller and a big leader for the team, he's not always the most active jungler early game.
And this is a little risky for SKT. They don't have summoners on bot.
Flash to the knockup. They're going to go for Bang on this one. Look at the damage up, but he's got no way out. Ambition traps him in, but look at the damage back from Faker. He just survives the entirety of it. And out goes Samsung Galaxy. 3 flashes down.
Huni comes down to the bottom lane and completes his teleport though, so SKT have to commit to all the resources in this area. The Mountain Drake should be taken in toll in exchange for this top lane turret. Cuvee is whacking away.
But so important they keep the TP on this Gnar here. SKT, yes, they get the one Drake, but no kills at all.
Well, flash advantage will go back towards SKT, though next time Peanut's got it, there's no one really able to get away from it. Only Crown and Cuvee have those tools.
And you can tell, Huni, as soon as the bottom lane play fizzles out, he just makes a beeline, runs straight back to the top side to try and save the rest of this turret so that SKT don't give up that first turret bonus. They've worked so tirelessly to get themselves into a position to capitalize on that advantage.
But at this point here, SKT should play around top side, get that first tower down, unleash Huni in the top lane, instead of having all these plays around the bottom side, because that's actually allowing Samsung to get back in this game here and not fall further behind. No turret just yet, and this top lane tower's been low for a long time.
It has been low. It's been an interesting look for SKT because the mantra coming in was Huni, play for yourself, get you the 1v1 matchups, and yet his big plays have been coming down to the mid lane to get first blood for Faker, coming down to the bot lane to help secure the first Drake, and he's going equal in just the lane itself.
Definitely credit to Samsung for not allowing that explosion to happen that we talked about in the possible early game opening here that SKT were trying to pry away. Now, though, we've got almost a full reset for SK Telecom as they're able to go purchase, and the first item timings are coming through even more than the Ardent Rageblade that we've been talking so much about. You know, Huni here, as well with the Phantom Dancer, really gets to go in.
Yeah, and I think on the other side here in the top lane, Cuvee going Black Cleaver first is actually fairly risky. I love getting the cooldown reduction as well, but not rushing Frozen Mallet is tricky, you know? And you don't right now like feel very tanky, and Huni's all in, especially once he's level 11. It's something you've got to respect. Like typically when I see Gnar versus carries, it's Frozen Mallet and a lot of early armor to try and make sure you don't die, and then you just kind of whittle them down slowly.
They're basically two paths right now for SKT to walk down, because they're the ones with the priority, mainly because of all the control they've been able to get around Faker, but they can either go that top lane path you mentioned. Well, here we go mid.
A couple of barrels, but none of the big triggers pulled out. Ambition able to flag and drag out to safety, no big deal. Minions cleared out, but a low health jungler gives control back to SKT.
Faker right now able to roam with Peanut there, looking for that top lane tower we talked about. Cuvee, he knows he's trying to get away as fast as possible.
Realm Warp comes in, they're committing to it.
Here comes the attempt there, right behind, gets back over the wall, the flash to get away, and he's got a long run ahead of him. Up and down the river, the bot lane's nowhere near, running away from Peanut.
All flashing!
They're gonna keep up the chase there, and they get the slow!
The ult is gonna land pretty perfectly there, rooted in place, that's gonna be the kill. Faker getting the second and only kills of the game.
It all starts in the mid lane where they get Faker in control, and then he roams with the jungler. That's gonna be first tower now for Huni in the top lane. And SKT, we saw this just before here, when they win the early game at Worlds, they're 8-0. They're looking so good in the second game.
Let's see if they can keep that one going. The paths to victory getting wider and easier to navigate as they just machete back the vines and realize that there's daylight at the end of that tunnel, and they can tie up this series 1-1 if they keep going. 3,000 gold lead so far, immaculate for them. No Drakes given up. No turrets, no deaths either. We might be going back to back with bloodless games if it keeps going this way. Both these teams very controlled in their play.
Yeah, as we can see from the mini-map, this was telegraphed from SKT for the play they wanted to go for, but the willingness to blow these flashes and Peanut getting just in range for the slow landing on his barrel sets up the perfect ultimate there. I believe Cube was about to go for the hop, but didn't have it in time, and they're able to capitalize completely because even more important than the kill, the objectives. Top lane turret is down, plus the Rift Tail. That means SKT can finally start to chain those objectives.
And they're still defending the bot lane tower. That's where Samsung are looking so often. They want Ruler to get this turret here.
EQ's down. Mickey uses to run away a little bit. The flash chases in, looking for the trade, but in comes the duel, and look at Bang! And he does not have a way out for this one. The flash was already used. Barrier pop for some time. In comes Crown, and they're going to find their first kill of the game. Kube staying alive as well. The chase forward. They got the root into Faker. Samsung Galaxy. The flash tornado. Core JJ secures a double kill for Ruler.
Miscommunication on SK Telecom as Bang flashes forward for the ultimate into 3 Samsung members, and the rest of SK Telecom not committing. What a big dissonance there we've seen within the team.
And Kura, he was ready. He TP'd in behind SKT as soon as this fight started. When they knew, okay, Ambition, he's getting caught in that Dragon Pit, they turned it around.
So many times we've highlighted the difference between Huni and Cube, and Cube joining these fights so quickly. Here's Ambition on the run, though.
Okay, so now Samsung are calling, we can fight this one. TP comes in, Bang is in the Dragon Pit trying to kill Ambition while Peanut and Faker were looking towards Crown. Meanwhile, Huni's taking a red buff, he's not TPing into the fight, and this was over before it even started.
Yeah, that has to be maybe a team call there not to spend the teleport, but very different ideas about what they wanted to do in that play as your AD carry flashing forward on Varus. It can be a strategy, but not if you're bringing only 4 members to a 5-man fight.
Sure, but Huni's going to bring a second member to a 1-man fight and knock down that bot lane turret. So 2 solo turret kills for Huni. Individually, he is massive, 7,900 gold. More than anyone else on the opposing team, and 1,500 over his opposing member. So SKT gets to rely on this Yasuo.
And let's see if Huni values getting even stronger individually and goes for Infinity Edge, or if he wants to be stronger for the next fight and goes for GA early on. It's something you can do on Yasuo, so when you join the first team fight, you don't just get one shot instantly. The GA helps you quite a lot when you are playing aggressive in the front line.
Yeah, aggression can be SKT able to pull the trigger a bit more frequently with these fights, especially when they do bring Huni with them. Mid lane traded back and forth for now as the next Drake has spawned, and looks like mountain number 2 for SKT seems likely. No one here to push this. Crown staying topside. Does have teleport around.
And there are a few wards behind SKT, but Samsung not in position to fight.
Odyssey Climb Explosive Cast does not do much, though. The ultimates are down. Here comes the re-engage once again for Ambition. Wants to add the damage. Look at the blade Colorado Ruler. Do they have the triple knockup? The follow through for Cube. And he's going to fight for help, but still 1 death comes through. The suppression comes in. 4 kills already. 1 man stands alive, and he's going to fall. The ace for Samsung Galaxy.
That was so insane from Samsung. There was so much damage coming in from Ruler, and Ambition bought so much time for the rest of his team. Crown joins after. Cube comes in from the flank, and that was perfect.
Samsung stand tall again around the Dragon Pit, and this time the rewards are immense. After the clean ace there, they're able to pick up Baron.
SKT are 8-0 when they win the early game during this tournament. SKT are still one of the best team fighting teams in the world, and yet we are watching Samsung turn it around 2 fights in a row.
Credit Ambition for his shot calling, but mechanically that fight was insane. A huge ultimate. The second flag and drag, the 3-man knockup to hit confirm all of Cube's entire combo. It was beautiful.
I just can't wait for the replay. Like,
it's here.
There we go. Like, this was so amazing to watch here. Ambition and Samsung are moving in. They know that Crown is not there yet, but he can TP in. They realize Ruler's getting caught, so Ambition engages, gets onto 3 members with his ulti, and look at the damage from Ruler here. Keep everyone in place. Ambition flash out to then jump back to his flag and knock them up again. And then Cube is here.
It's so much, again, about how the parts of Samsung are working together. That coordinated re-engage from Ambition and Cube was so seamless to lock up the SK Telecom backline. And you can see how good that feels for Cube himself to follow.
This is the player that got counter-picked. SKT chose red side to give Huni the 1v1 against him, and it had looked good for much of this game, but clearly feeling comfortable on the Gnar.
And while Ambition on this job, and it's not been a big pick for him during the tournament, we are seeing why so many teams value the job, and especially when you play against champions without dashes. There were no flashes on the side of Bang and Wolf, so when they got ulted by Ambition, they were stuck in place. And that allowed Ruler to land his CC, that allowed Cuvee to land his ulti, and the Jarvan pick that was left till the end of the draft paid off big time in this team fight.
See now bot lane starting to fall. The turret lead, the first of the game now. Samsung Galaxy finds their third. And SKT's mountain breaks don't mean much if you're not winning in map control anymore. If there's no objectives to fight, this lead now over 3,000 up. Huni still going to put the game on his back. Infinity Edge second item. 100% crit chance thanks to the Yasuo passive. He can melt any champion he duels if he doesn't die first.
Cuvee does go with the Randuin's himself to try and mitigate that a little bit. But meanwhile, the Baron buff is what's really important here. As 24 minutes in, Samsung are continuing to pressure on the secondary line of turrets.
Also the thing about Samsung's draft here with this Janna, they're ready for Huni to join fights. They can use the Monsoon to disengage after the ulti is over, and that's where Huni's build might hurt him because yes, he has a lot of damage, but as you highlighted, Frick, he dies very, very quickly, and he needs to play it perfect to get back in this game.
Yeah, the Janna, not to mention, one of the favorite targets for Malzahar's melee champions, and this is the DPS Yasuo. If he's brought into the team fights, that can definitely lock him up.
And all the key damage tools of Malzahar are immune to wind wall. W, E, and R all pass through that. They're not projectiles. It all shows up on top of you. He can block Ruler's damage, but not Crown's, and Crown's pretty big.
He is, and that's a big thing about Crown's role on this team. We talked about earlier how it's been a rough split for him, but as long as he can click R in a team fight on a key target, the rest of Samsung can then actually take down that target and win the fight. So Crown is less of a superstar carry and more of a support at this point.
All right, once again, we should get another vision toggle because just like that, 2 back-to-back team fights for Samsung, they take the entire second line of turrets, starve almost all of the vision from SK Telecom out.
Lone ward down there, that means nothing.
The little freak ward there is
perfect.
Is the only survivor, but the complete blanket control here for Samsung after picking up that second team fight, after picking up the objective, really led, again, by ambition. His in-game leadership has been one of the biggest things.
Yeah, by ambition and by the fact that this Samsung lineup have gotten another year under the belt. A lot more experience. These 5 guys were playing against SKT last year in the big final. Lost the first 2 games, looked nervous, were all over the place. They're looking like the team who's more in control and ready to turn around the big fights, especially Ruler on this Xayah. He was a rookie last year when he made it to the World Final. Now he's not a veteran just yet, but he's getting there.
Yeah, they're looking confident and they're acting confident as well. You see, even before the game started, in Ambition's interview, he talked about last year, we had to go reach for extraneous picks here, try and surprise SK Telecom, but this year, we are the better team.
And so far they've shown it. You look at the top 8 and it's very clear Samsung came in looking like the favorites based on gameplay. And it's so funny, I've seen people like give analysts flack for quoting history, but no matter how bad SKT have looked at various years, they always did manage to turn it on. And the question is, when will be the year where someone finally holds up to that level of metal, really? And maybe this is the one where Samsung Galaxy say, look, we know you're clutch, but we are just better than you pound for pound across the team, and this might be the time.
This will be the first time where Samsung are then able to say, you know what, this is a playoff game, and we're showing up big time. This team in the LCK, they lose almost every playoff game they're playing. They never made an LCK final with this lineup. And now they might win the World Championships.
I mean, the first time Samsung Galaxy with this squad played on a really big stage for something important was the World Final last year. There's no LCK finals to go for. There's no huge crowds for like the regional qualifiers for them, and they finally came to Worlds. And when they were there, they made it all the way to the very top of it. And here, you saw them get on the big stage. They 3-0'd Longju in their first best of 5 at Worlds this year. 3-1 against EWE, which was the regular season champion from China. Now up against SK Telecom, the reigning world champions, and they keep passing these tests so far.
And they kept talking about revenge against SKT in this big final. And they kept also talking about how they didn't have to change their playstyle. They're playing the correct way at the moment. They're going to pick exactly the same way they've been doing so far during playoffs, and we're seeing that here. Good bot lane, try and get Cuvee in a good match up top. Didn't work in this one game, but then he joins teamfights instead, and he shows up.
That's why it's so impressive. If we think back to Champions Select, Samsung, the confidence showing here as well. Happy to run back, and they're posing the question to SK Telecom, who are not used to having to be the ones to answer, because they are the back-to-back defending champions, but they haven't been able to find that answer thus far, and Samsung closing in once again.
We gotta then look at, okay, how can SKT get back in this game here? Big wombo combo can happen when you have the Gragas ult combined with the Yasuo. I think actually going for Core JJ with that combo might be the way in, because if you don't kill the Janna instantly, Monsoon knocks the Yasuo away, resets the entire fight, and then Samsung will struggle. Oh, sorry, SKT will struggle.
They're going to struggle for some fight in the top side right now. Looking for the play, but not going to get it. A good silence out of Crown, and Baron up in 15 seconds. And we've seen this Song of Dance before. Samsung Galaxy playing the Vision game for the Baron secures.
And those right there, those are actually plays to highlight when you're playing this strategy, because the important part for Samsung is not crumbling when SKT make that attempt at a pick. Here's that Vision that you're talking about around the Baron. They're very thorough in cleaning it up.
SKT can't see anything. They don't know the red buff being secured. There's a barrel to watch Vision. Suddenly, Peanut silenced to half HP. Crown's got ulti.
And how do you start a fight if you can't see anything? How do you pick the correct target if you don't even know where the members from Samsung are on the map? Yeah, you know, they will be on the top side, but that's not enough. And ulti here used by Ruler.
That's the right choice by Bang, though. Trade ult for ult, get Peanut in for the next one.
Look at Ambition, though. Looking for a potential fight.
Well, to 6,000 gold lead. They could pull the trigger. Kuve's here. Knock up, not quick, gonna land on Peanut. Gonna trade the flash for an ultimate. Cataclysm is down. The zoning silence. Now, is there going to be a re-engage? Kuve on the chase, but Peanut's got nowhere to go as Kuve flashed to the other side of the barrel. Two more autos. Doesn't land the clock or the iceberg or whatever it is. Peanut juice to the side.
But that's a huge chunk out of Peanut, the jungler, so they're starting up the Baron. They're going to try and draw SK Telecom into the darkness.
Huni is here, though. He's waiting for that big knock-up. Oh, Faker's ulti.
Round number 2, not going to happen thanks to the sounds. So there was just no way in the Vision. If you had it or not, it didn't matter. As Baron Nash has been secured by Ambition. 2 straight clean pickups. Here comes the Blade Caller. Really going to get low. Redemption gets some health back, but the fight might still continue. Ambition waiting on the wings. Does not go in.
Samsung able to utilize the health that they chunked out of Peanut and the Vision that they had set up prior to earn a huge objective. Even with a little bit early of a smite there from Ambition, they 100% secure this objective, stopping them at the Pixel Rush.
2 games in a row where Samsung understand how to take over the mid lane before going to the Baron. They know if Huni is sitting in the side lane, well then Yasuo loses quite some value for the team fight because he won't be there for the engage. He won't be there for the initial knock-up from a Gragas because he needs to TP into the fight. That's why Ambition are so confident just starting it, engage onto SKT, force them away, take control mid, and then go Baron right after. It's the same setup every single time, and it gives so little counterplay.
Such an impressive series here from Samsung so far. And a different story this time around. Peanut gonna have to run over for his life.
Maybe a bit aggressive, or excessive, I should say, on the ultimate right there. Was afraid of getting chased on, but otherwise had good jukes to not ever be rooted by the Blade Caller. Requires 3 feathers and moves sideways nicely. Mid lane, though, back under siege. Samsung Galaxy, we've seen it before.
Yeah, Baron number 2 is the key to open up the SK Telecom base. Brick by brick, Samsung Galaxy are trying to dismantle the SK Telecom dynasty and build a foundation for their own.
The way they're doing it is either by outplaying early game like game 1 or outplaying in team fights like in game 2. SKT have been trying to go for these drafts that wanted to win in the early game and then snowball, but it's backfired twice now in this series. Huni is still with the team here, hoping they get a good engage. Try and one-shot Core JJ if you can.
Ruler, nerves of steel, but gets rooted. QSS is away. Ultimate still up for the next disengage tool, but
meanwhile, keep your eyes on the mini-map. 2 lanes pushing here for Samsung. Minions in the mid lane, and SK Telecom have to flee.
On into this one. He's going to flash. What? That wasn't flash, I'm sorry. Crown walk forward, though, and just turns back around.
But they zone them away from the minion wave that's flooding into the top side here. Meanwhile, this entire time, Kube's on the bottom side, also with a Baron buff, and Samsung slowly flows.
Now the second inhibitor taken with the turret gone. There's no reason to defend. SKT back to lick their wounds as Faker clears the bot lane. The rest of the team sits by the Nexus, cowering behind their structures for a bit of solace and defense. But Samsung Galaxy now 8 turret kills in. There is not much base left for SKT.
QA and the rest of Samsung trying to land a little bit of poke before they go for this turret here. Once again, SKT need a big engage, especially from Peanut on this Gragas, but there's no flash available. Lost it before when they also lost the Baron. Ruler, step forward.
Getting a few chunks into the turret. The perfect ultimate still, as you're mentioning, the thing SKT needs.
No QSS just yet here from Ruler. Still on cooldown. Vega can flash snare him and then they can try and chain him down, but there's a Janna next to him.
and they don't have much time to work with either, because Samsung have checked all the boxes. 2 inhibitors down, and super minions making their way into the base. Now there's only maybe one more wave left of health on this bottom turret, and SK Telecom being pushed to the brink.
Lulu's played pretty much perfectly in terms of dodging away from the crowd control using Quicksilver Sash, Flash, or his ultimate, whichever one's exactly needed. Even knowing the ranges and sidestepping the skill shots when it needs to.
This could be the one that the inhibitor turret falls, and if it does, SKT once again likely to retreat without a structure to fight back for them.
And QSS is now ready again on the side of Ruler. Peanuts flashes up, another big one for that potential fight. But Cordier is so far back. Look at this, he's playing so safe. He knows he could be a target.
Cannot be found. A few more attacks will knock down the inhibitor. The flash forward, looking for the play, not going to get anything for themselves. Huni blocks off a little bit. Here comes the Cataclysm, and it could be just that for SKT as they're forced to retreat the Realm Orb just to buy some time. The Quicksilver Sash gets rid of suppression, but it does mean the damage comes through to Nexus turrets left remaining as one kill has already come through. Samsung Galaxy hoping to knock down these bricks and build that foundation of greatness. Faker silent, the flash for the knockup, but no kill to come through just yet. The turrets fall, and the Nexus in front of their eyes as well, looking to snuff them out as another kill comes through. Kube transforms back, and Samsung Galaxy are one game away from greatness.
They can see the finish line, but so many teams have been up 2 games against SK Telecom and been unable to finish. Samsung have a lot of room to work with though, because this is actually a 2-0.
Exactly, it is very rare we see someone go up 2-0 against SKT. First game, they won the early game. Second game, they won the team fights. That really breaks your confidence. SKT right now might come into the third game completely changing up their plans, and that needs to work. Samsung are in full control at the moment.
3 back-to-back victories is what it would take for SK Telecom to continue their dynasty.
Yeah.
What an incredible ask, considering the way that these first 2 games went.
And the thing is, you know you can't count them out. Despite how convincing these Samsung games have looked, we've seen SKT reverse sweep this split they did against the KT Rolster Super Team in the LCK playoff to get there. We know they can, but Samsung Galaxy again so close to snuffing that flame. Now to hear more about that game 2, we'll send it out to Dash and the analysts.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Last year, it was SK Telecom T1 that was up after the first 2 games, 2-0. This time around, Samsung Galaxy up 2-0. But gentlemen, coming out of game 1, going into game 2, be honest with me, did any of you think that that was the composition SKT would craft, thinking that that would give them the victory?
The Yasuo caught me a little bit off guard.
I think so. Just a little bit.
I mean, take a step back. Choosing red side again, I think, was largely to get that pick for Huni, to get Huni the Yasuo. And it worked till it didn't. It was a lot about adaptation and play, I think, but the draft wasn't actually the crucial factor to me.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of it really was down to the decisions that SKT made. The fights that they chose around the Dragon Pit 2 times in a row where it didn't seem like they're necessarily on the same page, where they're not fully coordinated. And when you do draft for a Yasuo, you have to be in a side lane. You have to be winning in that side lane. And when they fall behind, it's hard to come back.
John, I think there was a pretty distinct difference, though, at least in the way the early games played out, because this time around, it was SKT with pressure in pretty much all 3 of the lanes.
Yeah, and I feel like at first they did attack Ambition. They ended up getting 3 of the buffs. They got the flash out of Cuvée and the top side out of way, and the Rise was an early game counter pick to the Malzahar because of how easy you could kill the Voidlings, and it generated a lot of pressure. They had Huni come down mid, get a kill. They had Faker go up top, get another kill. Like, the things were working that they had planned with the red side for the game 2 to try and do to Samsung what Samsung did to them. But then, crucially, they couldn't clinch in the team fights.
Execution, execution, execution. Let's take a look at that big team fight. Azael, Acer replay, 20 minutes in. Samsung Galaxy 5-for-1 near the Drake.
And this was already after one lost fight that they had before. And so much of this comes down to the setup from Ambition. Him coming in with the setup and then Cuvée coming in.
Yeah, I mean, Cuvé's flank here, the perfect amount of rage on the Gnar. Huni knows what's coming, he tries to stop him, but the 3-man Gnar against the wall, instant double kill. This was huge.
Yeah, and Samsung just came together better in that fight. Watching it right here, Huni got in 3 auto attacks by the time 3 of his teammates were dead. So they got comboed way too hard by the Jarvan, Xayah, and Gnar combo.
Let's take back a moment, though. They've counter-picked for top lane. Huni's job previously had been to play his own lane. The Yasuo is about being the Gnar in the side lane. I think one thing we have to question is, why were there multiple team fights? Why were they opting into fights? Because to me, the only way SKT could lose with that lead, with the Yasuo, was fighting.
And I absolutely agree. We were saying before the series that Huni was going to play for Huni and the rest of SKT would play around that. Yet even in matchups where they weren't getting mashed on teleport by the Gnar, Huni was teleporting in and giving up some of his lane advantage. If he does hard split push in this game and they play disengage with the Gragas over and over again, finding picks with the Ryze, that's the game plan I thought SKT would have. So beyond just not executing in team fights, why are they there in the first place is not a question you often ask about SKT, but it was evident that game.
And it was something you could ask, honestly, 3 times in that game at least. You know, with Kuve having teleport down, Huni TP's down to the bot lane for a fight, nothing happening from that. And he was almost 2,000 gold ahead after getting the solo first to gold.
I mean, come on your screens right now, talking to the team, a situation that they have not found themselves in before here on the world stage, being down 2-0 in the final. As Kobe mentioned, that's a huge ask, even for a team like SK Telecom T1, to pull 3 games back to back to back in order to hold on to your reign and that title and the Summoners Cup.
And they don't even have side selection for Game 3, which could just be, once again, Samsung on blue side. They won't have it for Game 5 either. They've tried 2 different styles, both of them with the focus on denial. That hasn't worked. I don't think we're going to see Varus Gragas on red side again. I think they need to start giving Samsung comfort and finding comfort of their own, because they don't have much to hold on to.
And I'd even say, is the Lulu really giving you that much value when you're skipping over something like a Syndra into the Malzahar? You know, he's blind picking Malzahar 2 times in a row. 2 times in a row, Faker has the counter pick and really has not made him pay.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that I still see Peanut sitting in that chair. I'm wondering if Blank is going to be subbing in, just as we're wondering if Samsung's going to be taking the blue side. You would expect Blank to be subbing in, as they have done so often during the regular season, but to the point, 2-0 down in the World Final. No SKT hasn't been in this spot before, but they've been down 2-1, and they are undefeated in elimination games, 9-0.
Flip side of the matchup is Samsung Galaxy. You saw the player cams throughout the game itself. They are feeling it, right? They feel like they're on fire. They said it themselves. We said it. They've got to come in with confidence today if they want to take down SK Telecom T1, and they're playing with it.
It's one thing to say, it's another thing to do. So many teams at this point have been 2 wins up on SKT. None of them have been 3 wins up on SKT at the World Final. They have a chance to sweep. They just have to be able to play Game 3 like they did Games 1 and 2.
And Jat, you're leaving the door open for SKT, and I think that is everyone's natural inclination, but today feels like a different day. It really does feel like Samsung going to get over the line. My original prediction was 3-2. I'm not going to sit here and say 3-0, but it's feeling more like a 3-0 than a 3-2 for Samsung Galaxy, to me at least.
Oh, well, I mean, you got a response to that real quick?
I mean, we just have to remember, last year's World Finals, we're sitting in the opposite position.
Oh,
Samsung pushed us the distance, right? It went to a Game 5, and it was very, very close, so we do still have to give SKT the credit.
All right, well, that's going to do it here for this segment. It's time now for Samsung Galaxy as they've grabbed another win and are just now 1 Smash Nexus away from the Summoners Cup. Stay with us to see if SKT can keep the series alive in Game 3.
We return.
Untamed power. Limitless skill. Only one remains. Summon your strength.
SK 8강과 4강을 보면서 그런 생각 많이 했어요. 분명히 상대도 SK를 이길 만한 팀들이었고요. 두 판을 이겼을 때 거의 다 이겼다고 생각을 했을 텐데 SK가 거의 다 이렇게 손에 잡혔을 때 오히려 자신들이 실수를 많이 하더라고요. 그냥 평소에 하던 대로 했으면 오히려 이길 수 있었을 텐데 SK는 그냥 하던 대로 하는데 SK를 거의 이겼다는 생각에 좀 많이 말리는 것 같더라고요. 그런 걸 좀 저희가 보면서 느껴서 만약에 저희가 2판을 이긴다 하더라도 그냥 끝낼 수 있을 때 끝내자. 아니면은 그냥 안전하게 해서는 한 수 접고 하다 보면 SK한테 말리는 것 같아요. 그래서 화끈하게 끝내고 2판 이겼을 때 좀 방심하지 않고.
An all too fitting clip there as we welcome you back to the Bird's Nest, where earlier we got a bird's eye view of the event and the happenings here. But we're about to head into Game 3 of Samsung Galaxy versus SKT, where Samsung are 1 win away from being crowned the world champions. And typically in this situation, if SKT is in the series, I'm turning to my analysts and I'm asking how the opposing team crafts the comeback in that best of 5. Well, the tables have turned. So, Papa Smithy, I know you said you don't think it's going to go to 5 games. You don't think SKT is going to be able to come back. I challenge you to tell me how they do it as Samsung Blue, or rather, nice slip there, as Samsung have selected blue side and blank is coming in for SK Telecom.
So the first thing is to play around with the pick and ban, specifically the bans from SKT in the first round. They've been banning Galio, Tristana, and Kalista in the first round. I think you start moving away from the Galio ban in particular. You consider dropping the Tristana ban as well. Kalista, of course, the must-ban champions. And you cannot go for this denial style. No more Varus Gragas on the red side in the first round. That's where it starts for me.
Yeah, and you do have to wonder now with another sub, another red side game, is this it? Is this finally when SKT crumble? But they've been in these situations before, and I did a lot of research before this game, thinking about the reverse sweep that they already had against KT Rolster in the summer playoffs. In that series, and this gets back to the pick and ban
I'm listening.
They picked Galio and got counterpicked with Gangplank. So I feel like if they give over the Galio, they don't ban the Trist, they instead ban Janna, I think Samsung can first pick the Galio, and I want to see Faker's Gangplank in this elimination game.
I think you're more likely to see is Malzahar, which is not quite as exciting.
Gangplank.
Well, one of the two. I would. He said what he wants to see. Didn't see what he will see.
All right, and Azael, what are your thoughts here?
To me, I agree with a lot of what you guys said, but I'd also say that the priority on Gragas over J4, I haven't necessarily agreed with. I think that Jarvan's early jungle and his power, in the game, even as showcased by Ambition, who's not known as a Jarvan player, it's just such a strong pick, and the fact that it's falling so low in draft priority for SKT is a little bit surprising.
And then lastly, just do you guys agree with what was said there? That, teams that have found themselves up 2 games over, or 2 games to 1 over SKT, they get comfortable with that, or they get too eager for their win and end up handing it back.
100%.
All right.
I feel like the aura of SKT has been really strong this tournament, but it only turns on when they're down 2 games in a series.
If they can play 1 game out of 3, Samsung Galaxy, with the nameplates off, I think they close it out. The first game, the first answer would be the strongest. That'd be the boldest, as Ambition mentioned. But turn the nameplates off, your game plan is working.
And to me, you have to look no further than the Misfits game, where they lost their fateful game with that dive. If you allow them to replay that game 10 times, they probably win the next 10 times. I mean, from the position they're in, it is almost unlosable.
Well, night has fallen on the Bird's Nest, and we are ready to head into Game 3. So let's send it over to Deficio, Kobe, and Freak for the call.
Thank you very much, Dash. The question now remains, is this going to be the final game of the World Championship? Does Samsung Galaxy sweep SKT in the finals and deny them that run?
I mean, we talked about a lot of possibilities for this series here, like 3-2 either way, maybe a 3-1 here. No one mentioned 3-0 for Samsung against SKT. Like, it's almost unbelievable.
Yeah, all the analysts I'm seeing now talk about SK Telecom digging deep and all this magic. It honestly, at this point, feels like children trying to hold on to their dreams, of the heroes that they've been told.
Like TSM fans,
the
Kobe.
legends.
Just believe in.
You got TSM in there. Congratulations.
Including NA talents Huni and Core JJ here at Worlds, obviously. The jokes have to come in, but truly this is potential. I think it's history in the making one way or the other. It is the greatest 100%. Comeback SKT have ever brought forth and mustered, or it is the greatest destruction of a dynasty you've ever seen in League of Legends. SKT do not lose world championships. They have some ungodly record that ends in 0 losses when they're in elimination games at Worlds, and you might see it here today.
First change already in this pick and ban phase. Janna now removed. It was first picked twice by Samsung. Now Galio was another ban SKT used on the red side. Still a possibility, but also a chance to leave it open and try and give it to Crown.
Yeah, Galio definitely very big. I also think the Shen has just been so incredibly big for Samsung, and in the way that they wanted to play around earlier, the bottom lane first turret. Ooh.
Okay, so right now SKT have Galio and Sejuani both open, and Lulu as well. So a lot of key picks. They can actually leave all three up, give Samsung one, and grab two for themselves.
Tristana's also up as a permaban champion, still right now alive in the draft. So a lot to hand back and forth. You wonder if they will draft the tier list or draft their own styles. Galio gets removed. To talk about the rest of these champions that were highly prized, Sejuani will be the first one.
And Ambition has just been so good on all of the champions that he's gotten so far that it does make sense for SK Telecom to try and leave that up as a possible trade back for those other two priority picks.
Kassadin Ban, though, from Samsung is special right here. In case they were first picking the Galio, they might have respected the fact that Faker could grab Kassadin there and try and use it to surprise him like WE did with the Kassadin.
Also, it could possibly be setting up a Taliyah pick for them as well, because Kassadin's so good into Taliyah, and they don't want Faker to be able to answer that. We've mentioned how big mobility is in this series, and that is still one of the picks that could contribute.
So they trade Sejuani and Gragas, but Lulu is still available and was not grabbed by SKT. Lulu Varus is an amazing bot lane for Samsung because they get so much early pressure with that lane and they can play around it. It would be a very solid one, but then they don't get Malzahar, and that's another big one here.
They're going to give up the mid lane pick for now. You expect SKT to ban that one away when they can, but the Samsung Galaxy bot lane showing SKT get a last dibs on a support pick before the bans come through. And it will be the Leona backs against the wall. Wolf learning from Ignar.
If you're giving over Lulu here, it's because you're ready to try and play something that can kill the Lulu.
Exactly. As soon as you see the Tristana lock-in, this is the go-to kill lane combination that we've seen. They have had success on. Now it's going to be up to see what Samsung Galaxy can actually craft around this, because they definitely know what's coming. This is not the surprise, the same that they already pulled out before.
So Taliyah ban, once again, important. Do not let Faker on a champion with an easy global he can use to go to different lanes. Shen ban, Kobe, you already mentioned how important it is that Samsung can put that on QV and then protect the bottom lane. Malzahar is still there for Crown to play. This means we're looking at a Gnar early pick from SKT, and then they can still last pick for Faker.
And that's going to be the ban drop. The way you saw the Taliyah was the first ban this time around and not the Syndra. They left up a couple more options, so Syndra now an allowed mid laner. SKT get first dibs on the two remaining solo lanes.
Interesting here. You always bring up fitting in Ardent Sensor when you have the Leona on the bottom side, so this could very well be a Faker Karma, but Huni also pre-Worlds played a lot of solo queue top lane Karma, so I just want to throw that one out
there. Of course, I respect that.
Because that also is something that they have utilized.
Still need a blind pick top here. Cho'Gath, Maokai are available. It's going to be the Cho'Gath here. Huni can play Trundle against it in the top lane. And that is what he's currently looking at, and he locks it in instantly. So Karma mid lane, SKT are going full Misfits for this game.
And they're going somewhat full SKT from Game 5 of the semifinal, where they put all their eggs in the Bang basket. They had, of course, a ton of Galio games. More supportive mids out of Faker, this time bringing in Teleport to grab him some of that mobility, and it is Bang who's got to be a big carry.
Well, they had better go at full SKT right now, because they are down 2-0 in this series, never having lost a best of 5 at Worlds.
And the only thing Samsung look at in this draft that are kind of scared of is the Leona in the bottom lane. Everything on Samsung's side is perfect for them. Best jungler for Ambition, best mid lane pick for Crown, and a super strong bot lane to play around. Like, this is a great draft for Samsung and what they like to play, but the Leona pick from Wolf can ruin everything.
Bang and Wolf need to step up huge. In that last game, Bang with the flash forward on Varus was very disconnected from the rest of the team, and that was the big team fight that started the entire comeback for Samsung Galaxy. Now the pressure on his shoulders once again, and it's up to him to show why he's a defending champion and stand tall.
So is this the last time these coaches shake hands? 2-0 lead for Samsung Galaxy. A third ends the tournament. Faker's tournament life now. His World Championship title run rests on Karma mid. Huni split pushing on Trundle and Bang on the Tristana.
If people had problems with Faker on Galio, then they're definitely not going to like the elimination match of putting Faker onto Karma, but you can see how much faith they have in that team play and how important that sensor is in the meta currently.
And it's so crazy that the best performing player during this tournament, the best player in the world, is being put on a supportive champion for this big game here. SKT have relied so much on Faker being so strong in so many games, and now it's not about Faker specifically, it's about Huni on Trundle and Bang and Wolf in the bottom lane.
Samsung have shown them the way to win as a team. Faker's bought in, now it's up to the team.
And it's a style we've seen Faker play throughout the years. He's one of the famous Lulu mids as well. It is certainly not a surprising style out of SKT. They have, throughout their years, almost a half decade of dominance at this point, they have shown us so many different things. Samsung Galaxy have been tried and true with one style. SKT hoping to find the one that counteracts it.
Will this return even find success? Because this year is so different from the history that we've seen from SK Telecom, and they haven't found success in that style.
And yet we're told every year this is the one that's different. SKT don't look the same as last time, and they'd always pulled it through in the end, which is why no one yet is willing to believe Samsung Galaxy sweeps this. But they are. At triple match point, they can do it.
All right, Huni and Blank moving in here to find Cuvee and Ambition, trying to do the exact same thing they did last game. Take the enemy blue buff, split the map in half, and have Huni be safe on the top side. Ooh, damage.
Again, a lot of damage into Cuvee, put down to 300 HP, which again means bad things for his laning phase. The difficulty, of course, of Leona at level 1, you don't have quite the same tools, and a big chunk comes out of Bang.
And we have to talk about Leona and the fervor of battle right here. It's what we have seen from Igna, it's what we've seen from Wolf. You are so quick to stack it up with your melee attacks, giving 2 stacks for yourself, that when you all in, you very quickly get a lot of bonus damage doing that all in.
And the rush to the level 2 here, Samsung have control of this minion wave right now, and if you take into account the starting positions of the jungler, Samsung would be the ones with the advantage, being able to have Ambition on this bottom half of the map, whereas Blank right now for SK Telecom is completely counter-jungling and staying on the top side of the map.
And credit to CoreJJ zoning out the duo right now. SKT cannot walk up. Of course, Wolf, I believe, started with his stun at level 1. No, he does have E. I take that one back, but still they can't win the 2-on-2 with where the lane is right now. So level 2 easily goes to Samsung Galaxy. There's a level up right there, and SKT are entirely zoned off the wave until the reinforcements come in.
Blank gonna make an early look up to the top side here to target Cuvee. Very low health here, and Cho'Gath only has his flash to get out.
Blank for the gank. Can he make it happen? Level 2 on both these players. No pillar for Huni. Looks for the barrel slow. That's going to be in there. And there's no way out. First blood comes through without even a summoner spell burn.
And that one here, Cuvee are playing too aggressive early on in this laning phase. Huni is just letting the wave push to him, knowing there's a good chance that Blank, who started on the top side, can gank him.
And this is a very, very important kill for Huni to get on this Trundle. He can start to take over in the side lane and play to what we've seen SK Telecom utilize earlier in the tournament as far as the side lane pressure.
Of course, the TP's back into the lane right now. You saw Huni kind of manicure the wave to let it freeze towards him. Gets all the farm.
So we get to see a very easy gank here. Cuvee is already low in the laning phase. Huni's been letting the wave push towards him. And obviously there's no way out here from the Cho'Gath side.
Pretty good layering overall. Huni getting the kill for himself. 400 up means he's going to feel very good in this matchup. Obviously a TM at start for him. And they'll be doing well this game.
Let's swap down to the bottom lane, because right now, it's Bang and Wolf getting pushed under their turret. They didn't get an all-in level 1 or level 2 just yet. CoreJJ is not running gold runes. He's going for this strong laning. There's some attack speed, there's some AP in there, and he wants to try and bully this Leona.
And with the bottom lane bullying, you can see on your mini-map there, CoreJJ gets plenty of time to move up into the jungle with Ambition, but Blank had already made his way back down to that side and taken his own blue buff. So Ambition only gets to take away the Gromp here, and SK Telecom actually defend fairly well against that. Now that Blank is going over to his red buff though, they have vision on him, and that's what Cuvee desperately needs on his Cho'Gath so he's not punished again.
Inside a minion wave, a really nice trade out of Faker there, puts Crown down to 200 health. He's got his own teleport. Some of his Void Link, so when Crown decides he needs to, he can get back to them without issues. But for now, Faker doing handily in the mid lane.
Just like game 1 and 2, Faker winning the early laning phase against the Malzahar here. We've highlighted multiple times why Crown is just going for this pick. It's all about the mid to late game, the quick engage from him to stop split pushing and be useful in fighting. That one missed, could have been a big one on the Crown because Blank is just around the corner.
So far, no gank to be had out of the Gragas. Top lane is good enough for him as the first recalls have come through already. Tracker's Knife is in for Ambition. He's going to get the wards out now. And might keep the Samsung Galaxy solo laners a bit safer.
I have to say, I really think Blank could have gained a lot out of trying to help Huni out with this zoning against Cho'Gath. There was not a lot of opportunity for Cuvée to use Trinket Wars and get any more vision on the top side. So currently, Huni is basically zoning him away from CS during the cooldown of Rupture, but it could be even worse. And right now, his lane will eventually push back.
This will be the wave that it pushes back towards Cuvée finally. He'll miss some more farm, but it won't get too much worse from this point on. 300 gold lead for SKT is actually less than First Blood would have given you. That was 577 in this game as we watch mid lane push back out for Crown.
Gotta see around mid because Blank is here again. They're going for Crown.
Gonna land the root, the flash, and chase in. They've got the crowd control, and another kill in the mid lane. SKT have one in a Faker.
Nice flash there from Faker to make sure the snare connects onto Crown, and then Blank is right there to get the kill as well.
Yep, nothing Crown can possibly do right there. Faker takes off the shield himself. Tether easily lands, and that is a guaranteed kill for SKT, now 2-0 up in this game.
And this is one of the big things for SKT when they use these two different junglers. Peanut starts, Blank sits backstage, gets to watch the game with the coaching staff, then come in now and make an impact. Peanut was not able to secure a lot of early kills for his team. Blank in the first game he's in already got a kill top and a kill mid now for his solo laners.
Take another look there. Faker, as you said, early flashes so that the Tether will keep. And Faker now, after that gank, gets to go around topside and help Huni continue to bully. It does come at the cost of his teleport, though, and Crown used his to get back to lane where he's pushing on mid.
But still some really nice stuff out of that one. The level 6 power spike out of Huni pops the ult to force the Cho'Gath away, and Cuvée gonna lose so much of this farm. As that mid lane duo stays up there, you can see a lot of damage output coming into that turret. They might actually get the whole thing.
And you can see also the success of Blank that SK Telecom have had this year when he's actually subbed in off the bench. Huni does get low, but it's not a level 6 Cho'Gath, so there's no ult there.
And Faker's back. Cuvée does not have flash. There is not a way out from this. As he dodge Rupture, yes he does. Now Faker's gonna wait for the next W. A few seconds away, a bit more damage than a Cuvée. Empowers the first one. Looking for the chase down. Does he have the damage output? He's gonna go for the dive. Gets Silence, walks away from the Rupture.
All right, no kill right there, but Cuvée again is forced away from the CS. Only 34 right now for this Cho'Gath, 60 for Huni coming up.
Let's return to the story of the bottom lane and Bang & Wolf here, because I want to talk a little bit more about this Leona pick. So many people were really impressed with it when Misfits came out of the block, getting the first double kills and the first blood down there. So much of her laning power comes from kill pressure.
Yeah.
And if they are left alone and zoned out and the vision of your jungler is given up on the other side of the map, she loses so much of her possible laning power because there isn't that threat of the other sources coming, of stacking the CC, of getting those kills.
Another big thing is your level 1 and level 2, where you actually with Fervor of Battle and your CC can apply a lot of damage, and you run this offensive summoner. But in this lane, CoreJJ and Ruler instantly won the first trade at level 1 and just pushed SKT back to the turret. And the later we go into this lane now, well, CoreJJ is going to get more HP, he's going to have his shields, and Wolf is waiting for level 6 now before he can actually try and all in.
And even though, as you mentioned, Kobe, that the only reason the lane would be good is kill pressure, it meant that SKT drafted 3 gankable lanes for Blank to come in and say, you go anywhere on the map. Faker's got the flash route, Huni's got the pillar and the chase down. No matter where you go, we've got the follow-up. And Blank so far 2 for 2 on excellent ganks. And a 7-minute first turret, obviously for Huni, a huge deal as well.
That is definitely something you take into consideration when you're evaluating, Cuvé's early gameplay. And he's pushing up super heavily on the top side. It's part of the reason you're talking about, Freak, with bottom lane being a very juicy and possible gank target. But definitely success found early again for SK Telecom. Remember how game number 2 went, though, and Samsung Galaxy were still able to stick to that game plan.
I like the fact, though, that SKT secured this early tower by even TPing Faker to that lane. Because now they don't need to keep helping Huni. He's fine on his own. Now you can put all your vision and attention to the bottom side. Level 6 is there from Wolf, and you can start getting some kills.
It's especially important when you take into consideration the overall goals of SK Telecom with this draft. With this team composition, they want to open up that lane for the Trundle to push into this Cho'Gath. Huni now has his territory to work with, while you can try and make those picks with the Leona that you're setting up, now ultimate ready, and they have to worry about it.
You talked about the SKT plans here. The early game, the Leona rushes mobility boots here, right? Even if the lane itself hasn't looked good, they're looking to get more out of Wolf to find the ultis, to find the engages. We're not done watching the Leona fight yet.
Oh, definitely not. Faker's down here. We have Blank on the way as well. But Ambition is able to back up Faker, though. Just kills the Blast Cone to avoid aggression from the side of Samsung.
Right now, they've got Ambition inside their own jungle.
There's the root, the flash ulti is blown. It gets tanked up by the Leona. Tanky she is, but the ulti comes across, and there's almost no way out. The heal comes in, and actually Wolf's going to survive it. And it's a walk away now. Huni is deep into the back line. Gets the pillar. One more shot doesn't in. Huni gets the kill into Ambition. And CoreJJ's isolated. He's flashless. Leon's going to do nothing but buy a few more seconds. As down he goes, the damage not to be had. Wolf survives again.
And Huni joins the team here with the Trundle. Teleports down to the bottom team fight, while Cube teleport on cooldown, stuck on the top lane, and he's the big difference maker. SK Telecom are able to get the extra kills around bottom lane this time around.
Also have to highlight Faker being there so early, reading the play here from Samsung. They're now going for mid lane.
There's Crown with the flash to go over the wall. He's not going to choose to the very end, but the root already landed. So that's going to be a body slam, and Faker with a second kill.
Again, the predictive plays here from Faker. Knows that the escape would be over the wall, gets close enough so that the tether still lands, and he has been the playmaker. This guy, the play on Karma reminding you of his play on Galio everywhere on the map while supporting the rest of his team.
Such a good early game. Such an important early game for SKT. They know Huni's Trundle will take over the side lane. They know they can create picks with Leona if they get them out of the laning phase here. Faker's reading this situation. He's down bot lane already, and now Wolf knows, oh, we can fight here.
Yeah, Faker closes the trap there, blowing up the blast clone. Wolf did flash for that ultimate there with Leona, but he also got a flash out of Ruler and answer, and then Huni's teleport and blast cone over the back of the Dragon Pit completely catches Samsung by surprise.
Cube had to cancel his own TP, and so much CC spent on just the Leona at first. There were a polymorph, there was an ulti from Crown, there was an ulti from Ambition, and then Wolf managed to step out just at the right time to not actually die. And then all the CC was gone from Samsung's side, and they could not take the fight.
Good battle out of SKT 5-0 in this one. They got that first turret a while ago as well, and they sit on this 3,000 gold lead. Baker TP up. Now a battle between Huni and Kuben. It just means a flash out of the Cho'Gath. They can't get anything anywhere, Samsung Galaxy. Now Crown found out one more time. The knockback right into Faker's waiting arms. And Karma's going to catch up to you again. But Enola going to come out. They're going to find suppression. And they might just get that first kill. They do. Samsung Galaxy on the board looking for more. Wolf going to run away.
Yep, now they've got the bottom lane back and covered. SK Telecom punished this time around as the two-man squad gets turned on and isolated.
And all these plays here are so important because Samsung wants to kill this bot lane tower to get some gold. SKT are reading their situation, so they're constantly sitting bot lane to protect. But the fact they lost this trade actually allows SKT to go forward. Let's see a fight.
Making the big play, TP coming in as well for this one. They're going to cancel that one out. The damage is all they need. Ruler doesn't have an exit, but the barrier! He baits, bang with it, and gets a free ticket out.
Faker TP'd into the bottom lane again to protect that tower.
SK Telecom are starting to scramble. You can feel the pressure. You can feel the tension in the elimination game here. And Samsung are holding strong.
Baker's still waiting in the wings, but here comes Ambition, 3 versus 1. They're going to get the stun of one more auto attack. And here comes Crown as well. Faker has flashed right into his waiting arms, and Crown says, I'll get you back for that one. The shield not going to be enough. Malefic Visions and an auto attack gets the second kill of the game for Samsung Galaxy.
QA's bot lane right now trying to kill Wolf, but ends up just stepping away. This tower now needs to die.
Yeah, if QA's bottom lane, that means Huni is left unattended. The strong point here for SK Telecom, the split pushing Trundle, is going to be able to create that side lane pressure.
And this is why SKT wanted to get Huni ahead in the start of the game, so he could just sit top lane, and then they swap down to bot side to try and protect. But they've now been losing a few of these skirmishes, actually giving Samsung the bot lane tower and mid lane tower, which was low from before. So a lot of small things happen. Yes, it might just be one kill going back and forth, but it then allows you to further push down an objective and get gold for your team.
League of Legends, obviously a team game. The entire map always matters. So when you saw Faker roaming for the kills and trying to help the rest of the teams, he was leaving mid lane unattended for Crown to push to get that damage. And as Faker roams one more time, he's got no one near him.
Yeah.
1v4.
No TP top. His jungler is mid. Faker had no reason to walk in here and try and zone Samsung away from this turret. That was too risky.
He's done so much all game long, but when they're stretched thin and when they're pressured so much, feels like he wants to do even more, and this time overstepping into enemy territory.
What was funny is actually Kube teleported to bot lane during that play. So sure they were that Faker wouldn't face check alone. They'll bring the Cho'Gath, SKT is here, and there was actually no one. He just kind of gave away top turret for it, but the idea was that Faker wouldn't face check this by himself, even though he did.
And now we have that setup again where Huni is winning his side in like he's been doing for most of Worlds, where he's a constant pressure point you have to deal with if you are Samsung. Because he's always going to just push, push, push. Cube wants to leave that lane so badly and just join his team for a Dragon fight, for later on a Baron fight, but he's not allowed to right now without that TP, and SKT controlling the map.
Faker controlling his blue buff pretty cleanly as well. A couple more shots will do it in. There's the Q landing, and Faker on split push duty this time. He does have a teleport to match Crown split pushing later on in the game. They can both go for the 1-3-1, but we know Huni heavily ahead of Cube's Cho'Gath right now should make that side of it very easy.
And Huni again, keep the Cho'Gath in your lane so he can't TP to a fight, and then this Drake is in favor of SKT because they can have 5 members at the same time.
Exactly. You know, while Huni, yes, he can create pressure and keep Cube there, he can also join his team with the teleport advantage that he's gained. He's roaming mid right now as SKT try and chase down Ambition.
Couple of slows in, but no root gonna land from Faker's W. Gets just out of the way in time as Cortron J burns the Wild Growth for a bit more health. A trade of 1 ultimate for 1 out of the jungler of SKT.
And Samsung is staying around. Cube is kind of going back and forth in his lane. Not sure if he should just stay and push. I think Samsung should just give up this Drake.
Mission's in melee range. Huni could have looked for something, not going to have it though. Ocean Drake picked up. SKT 2-0 on Drake, so they sit on only a 1,000 gold difference. They've gone equal in turrets. They're up 3 kills, but the gold still very close together.
And we're still waiting for Blank to use the Rift Herald that he picked up earlier while we had all the fights in the bottom lane. That could be another turret for SKT. They know Huni will get the side lane turret, so the Rift Herald can be used for mid lane.
And over 2,000 gold of SK Telecom's advantage is specifically in the top lane matchup with Huni over Cube. That's more than the overall gold lead of the team.
If Ambition and both bot laners right now ahead for Samsung Galaxy, so even though that gold lead and the kill score looks nice for the red squad, it's based on which players are actually in the fight. It's going to be still a very dynamic one. This is a tight game.
Huni's already at another turret, and this is going to keep happening. Samsung's way to stop this is to force a fight in the mid lane with Malzahar, with Sejuani. That's the entire plan around the Malzahar pick, is to prevent split pushers from just sitting in the side lane all day because you force them to TP in to this potential fight. But it is difficult if you're not winning the map. But we need to see Crown and Ambition together force SKT back, and therefore force Huni to stop split pushing and come join his team.
And it's been the philosophy and the story of Samsung. Team play, how they want to find victory. And again here, in this team composition specifically, it is going to be the exact same one as they collaborate around mid lane here and try and force SKT back. Huni is left to run rampant around the bottom side.
The Red himself trying to be answered by the Cho'Gath as well from Cube, and looks like the Red goes cleanly over to Huni, walks away with an extra buff steal, 2,000 gold difference.
And it's hard for Samsung right now to force this fight because SKT can just back away. There's no Baron on the map yet. They have to try to protect. Once the Baron spawns, we're going to see all the control wards, and we're going to see the setup. Now let's get a fight.
Ruler blasts away from 2 ultimates, and the re-engage lands a stun and a blink. Can they get the damage up? But not just yet. The re-engage, though. Ambition going to fall to Wolf's damage, but they trade back. They've actually knocked down Huni, the most fed member on the team. This 4v4 now looks good for Samsung Galaxy.
This was a 1-for-1, but SKT had no reason to force this fight. They are winning the split push war. Just delay the game.
Faker chunked low as well. Can't even get the root as well. See them starting to lose grip on this game.
They just gave Samsung what they wanted. A chance to play with 5. The only good thing for SKT was the fact that Huni did not use TP. He walked from bot to mid lane. Cube had to use his. So there is a win for SKT, but it was a very risky call.
It definitely was risky. Let's take another look at how it actually played out. And again, so much of it was Ruler there. What a flash. He dodges 2 ultimates with 1 flash. The Gragas ultimate as well as the Leona one, and is able to get out a lot of that return damage. It's a big reason why Samsung went 1-1 in that team fight.
But the fact again, it ends 1-for-1, and Huni can stick with his TP and push the bottom lane. Well, then SKT, now the Baron is spawning, can go in and start getting their control wards down. We need to see them stack up on these wards. I want to see it from Faker, Bang, everyone control this Baron area. Otherwise, Samsung will take control again.
It's very scary too, because one of the most underrated parts of Trundle is, yes, everyone talks about his split push, but he can also be a very successful team fighter if during the duration of his ultimate, when he's able to join the team. Even if Cube is not there, he has another possible target in Ambition he can steal stats from for the duration of that ultimate. And with that teleport advantage you talked about, Deficio, he also gets the luxury of time because he wants to wear away at that bottom side where Crown is trying to answer teleport.
Sun's gonna land in the back lane. Can they knock down Ruler with this one? Half HP on a hit, knocked back into the wall once again. Hooney's in the mix, and he got the first kill. One carry is down. They're re-engaging, looking for Crown. This Malzahar not long for the world. Has flash, doesn't matter. Double kill in for Bang in the chase out of the bot side. Looking, the flash forward can't quite get ambition, but 2-0 means a good chance at Baron or more of the map. A slow's gonna land into Kube.
Oh, can he get away from this one?
There's not really a chance. He's got flash, but the rest of the squad is here, and he's just best dying with dignity. 3 dead. SKT win the crucial team fight.
And this is why we just talked about SKT going into that Baron area and start playing around it with Huni sitting in the side lane. As soon as Ruler shows up, there is no flash, and they just turn on him.
Now it's the battle for the Baron steal. The wards came down, but the similar sweeps coming in for SKT means it's Darkness and Faker taking the duty of zoning away Ambition. At this point, he's given up the chase. There is no chance for a steal. This is going to be a team fight into Baron for SKT, and the lead about 6,000 as a result.
What can the defending champions do with this Baron buff now? They'll be looking to get the extra gold out of that outer mid lane on top side. Here's another look at that setup though. We mentioned the speed with which they jumped onto Ruler.
It's so risky for Samsung to walk in this river here. And that's why SKT see an opening and collapse on the no flash Varus. They take him down, they win the fight, and this was Samsung being a few steps ahead of themselves, being like, oh, SKT wants to set up Baron, not if we do it first. But then suddenly they get caught in the river, not able to take a fight.
Of course, Samsung Galaxy being in the backfoot didn't see much of SKT's jungle themselves, didn't realize Leona was coming for them, and Wolf scented blood, and he found something. He found Ruler and he knocked him down a couple inches.
Now, one promising thing here for SK Telecom after this Baron buff is that also an Infernal Drink is the next spawn. So they can actually use this Baron buff and Huni's side pressure that this Trundle is just massive right now to be able to get another objective and some more of that attack damage and ability power for themselves.
And earlier, we talked about how there's a lot of pressure on SKT because if they lose here, it's over, it's done. But now the pressure suddenly shifts over to Samsung. You're 2-0 up. Now you're suddenly losing this third game here. You start instantly thinking about the reverse sweep. You're playing against SKT in a big final. It's a tough situation to be in mentally.
It's always a fun argument to go through. And the hoops of logic that you have to jump to consider, oh yes, you're on game point versus SKT right where they want you. It's such a hilarious statement for people to make, but there is that kernel of truth, and which with every comeback that SK Telecom make, it just adds to that legend and adds to that mythos.
The only best of 5 SKT has lost all year long has been the LCK finals to Longzhu. They're no longer with us in this tournament, knocked down by Samsung themselves. Nice smite away from Blank means a little bit more for them. SKT begin this long road back towards championship number 4. 6,000 gold. Their benefit so far from great split pushing out of Huni and solid ganks out of Blank. 100% kill participation out of the substitute jungler coming in. He's done so well as that second set of eyes in the squad.
And that earlier fight we saw in the mid lane ended up being even bigger for SKT because they got the flash away from the AD carry, allowing them then to pick him off a few minutes later and secure the early Baron here. Cube and Ambition forcing Huni away from the turret, but at the moment, Samsung are just bleeding gold.
Huni is a big boy as well. He can take a few hits and heal right back up with his Ravenous Hydra off the wave, and they keep the pressure long enough to be able to will out some vision control here in the bottom side of the map as well. You can see the control wards going down now from SK Telecom themselves.
It's going to be a reset for now as Baron times out. The last 30 seconds means SKT going to reset for everything and get the recalls off. A chromatic array of Drakes for them. The stats across the line as a red goes over to Bang and they look at the next play.
All right, the next play does kind of look like some similar things we were talking about earlier in this series where the vision control leads to long-range initiation. Before it was Zac and taking advantage of that Fog of War, but here Leona gains almost as much as the Zac from starting off from the Fog of War, and they have that huge chain they can pull off. We've seen already the combination, and Samsung are now at defense, the second line of turrets only in the mid lane they have left standing.
Of course, it's important SKT, they continue playing aggressive now. Karma in the late game, her damage does fall off quite a lot, but at this point in the game, you just completed a death cap, like, her damage is quite insane, and you have, of course, an AD carry next to her with 2 items fully completed and a Zeal coming in soon to be upgraded. Like, SKT are in a great spot to win the next team fight and use that to just win the entire game.
Looks very good for them. Huni's durable in the front line. Adaptive Helm and Frozen Heart, the tank items he seems to need here in this. Here's the attack speed slow, certainly valuable for himself. He's holding the mid lane for this squad as the rest of the crew heads to the top lane. 5 turrets already down in SKT's favor. 7,500 gold lead still their advantage. Not even 26 minutes into the game, but they are still looking for that first inhibitor to crack. They hold off for top lane for now, though, and keep rotating back and forth across the map, trying to find where that opening would be. Samsung Galaxy, though, playing good defense.
Right now, though, Samsung Galaxy without Cleanse, no QSS, no Mikhails. Like, if they get hit by one stun from Wolf, soon they will get hit by multiple other abilities right after, just locking them in place. It is very scary to team fight against Gragas, Leona, and a Trundle Pillar.
Yeah.
If you're playing Varus, like you're using the speed up from a Lulu as your defensive tools.
You can maybe dodge one stun, but getting rid of all of them is going to be incredibly difficult right now, moving towards further single target damage. And we just wait as the Vision game continues. 2 minutes on Baron seems likely to be the next play to be had. Right now, SKT does own that Vision. It's mostly Fog of War across from their map on Samsung Galaxy's side. They've got about 100 seconds to change that.
And to bring back up the story of the Control Wars that we talked about at the beginning of this series, in games number 1 and 2, those dominating victories for Samsung, they bought 100 Control Wars to 55 of SK Telecom, which goes to show how much map control and how well they were able to snowball with that Fog of War. Now it's kind of been flipped here, as SK Telecom have control of the map, and they're closing in on Samsung.
With their control, again, it's going to be taking lane priority into the Baron setup. There's only the one ward I can see.
Oh! The knockback on a Ruler, the continued CC, but only as slow as he's going to get away for now. They're re-engaged out of Samsung Galaxy. Can they knock down Blink as Ambition holds the front line? Then Huni's in, gets the ulti out of Malzahar, but staying alive. Then back in towards Crown. Then an Akube trying to trade tanks back and forth. But Huni going to stay alive. A big shield and a heal and a run back at SKT. No deaths on either side.
Everyone is so low, though. Important here for SKT. They forced the flash away from Ruler, so for the next fight, they can target him again.
Bang on the 3 Adam spike. Looks
there
like
we go!
Explosive. No, just a flash in. There's no follow-up in it. It's almost going to be the kill. Yes, they knocked down and Blake the Rupture, all they needed. I don't know if he thought he had Cask or what, but the body slam flash did nothing for SKT.
What a huge momentum breaker there for SK Telecom as they make the call for Blink to flash initiate, but get turned away by Samsung.
Still, though, now Samsung's carries without flashes. Next big team fight, there are flashes on the side of SKT. They can stay in the back line and wait for Wolf to land the stun onto Samsung here and then start the big fight. We just mentioned it before here, how hard it is for Varus against Trundle Pillars, Leona, Gragas to move around. The next big fight, that's the one SKT are really looking for, because now they can get Drake. Then, if they win a fight, they can get Baron as well.
Maybe keep this one going. Baron's up.
All eyes will be on Ruler. This time around, he is not a veteran anymore. He has stepped up so big for Samsung at this tournament. Meanwhile, SK Telecom trying to take advantage of the moment where they can gain Vision and Baron buff.
You saw Wolf feel threat. He was unwilling to go for that ward right there. Bang, though, has the safety to knock down this Infernal Drake pretty cleanly. No one getting the second glance.
And 100% agree with eyes on Ruler, and also want to say eyes on Wolf for the next fight here. He's had some good ultis in these team fights. Wasn't able to win the laning phase, but has been crucial for SKT in the last few big moments. He needs another good one for this next fight.
Now Summoner Spell's down on a lot of sides. Cube, Crown, and Ruler all missing them. Their flashes. Black Explosive cast was so good.
Really nice move there from Blake. Body slam with the ultimate to get Ruler out, but the counter initiation is here. And look how much damage Huni takes from the Malzahar ultimate. Barely any when his ultimate is on, but the focus is almost enable them to burn him down anyway.
Also very important that Huni got his ulti off before he got ulted by the Malzahar to help stay alive. And this then the play after Blank goes in for the big play, but there is no follow-up just yet. Huni's tanking the tower, and Bang had a hard time getting position to actually kill either Crown or Ruler.
I think it was a small misplay from Bang, actually. He walked forward to auto attack instead of just getting the 4 autos to blow up explosive charge from the turret with its increased radius. That actually might have been real damage out of the back line, but he missed out. Either way, though, maybe a suspect body slam all the same. As he reset into this game 7,000 apart. Again, I want to look at who's got the vision control. It's SKT running through the river and getting rid of everything.
Yeah, that's the important one here. SKT setting up for this Baron, ready to turn if Samsung shows up without those key flashes. There's the vision. You can see Samsung has to face check. Good thing about Sejuani is with their passive, you can face check pretty easily and not take too much damage. But no one else can really do it.
Yeah, her passive and then the passive of Warmog, since Ambition is not built that. Never mind. That's the.
It's on Cuvee. Still works. Cuvee can also face check.
Without flash, it's much harder to get away. If you get hit by Tristana with a red buff, or even just a Leona stun as well, of course, the chase down can be had. So Cuvee does have to give respect to what SKT can do. Ambition kind of the one to do all of this. A defensive line of controls for Samsung Galaxy, but no vision in the deep pit.
There is a blue trinket right now for Ruler, used at the moment. Samsung moving in. This might be a big one.
Crown's pretty far away from the rest of the team.
Just engage!
Gets a stun and a Ruler, gets a low, gets pushed back, he's gonna stay alive. Another re-engage, a giant silence out of Cuvee, and he blows up, bang! That's a 1-for-0, the chase-in is there, and they're gonna get rid of the bot lane entirely. There's no carries left for SKT. The chase to be had, Samsung Galaxy now in control of the river.
Samsung doing it again, they're winning these big fights when they're behind. They're supposed to lose these team fights, yet they turn it around.
3v5 to save the game, SKT. Can they have Blank steal the Baron? Can they have the fight they need? Jumps the pit, looks the place of press, and this time, Samsung Galaxy call it right. They grab the Baron. Will they do the impossible?
On the biggest stage, Samsung Galaxy retake another game out of the grasp of SK Telecom. The gold lead about to swing wildly back in their favor, and this is a possible match point.
We had the setup. We talked about no flash on Ruler. Wolf needs to land the ulti, and he did. But then right after, Blank's ulti or Bang's ulti ended up shooting Ruler away from the fight.
And then Bang himself gets chomped by Cho'Gath in this fight, and there's still a flash on Cho'Gath.
Let's see it again here. They turn onto Ruler, they land the stun. He's now CC'd, and then he steps back, and it's Bang's ulti that ends up knocking Ruler further away, and then also puts Bang in the front line next to a massive Cho'Gath.
The walk-up silence on 4 means there's nothing you can even do about that. If you had flash up or not, it no longer mattered. The chase-in was there. So now with Baron in a deficit, Samsung Galaxy look to push.
Let's see what happens here with Ambition and Blank.
Red wins to slow the stun, gonna land as well. Core JJ, a run, explosive cast also lands on nothing. The exchange back out of Core JJ, nearly the kill, but look at that, Nethergrass gets them the kill on the jungler. Blank is down, 8-9 in kills. So
they get back.
They're gonna find the next one, and the base check in for Faker, dies with flash up. 2 kills, 5v3, Baron up the mid lane.
One of the most unbelievable occurrences in all of world. Samsung are on the brink of 3-0ing SK Telecom.
40 seconds on Faker, 25 seconds on Blank. They have the Baron buff. They're pushing for the Nexus.
They need this fight, SKT, to stay alive. They've done it so many times throughout the years. Cuvee getting low, the chase on a Wolf. One more attack will do him, and he stays alive. But one Nexus turret falls. It's just the one to stay in there. Huni on the front lines. Bang to rejoin, clearing out the minions. The minions, though, still pushing in. The turret is gone. Ruler flashed away. He stays in. Wolf finds himself the first kill, but he's going to trade his life. Huni and Blank are alive, though. 2 versus 4. The health bar's so low. SKT, hold on.
Ruler and Cuvee living by the slimmest of margins as Huni tries to chase them out of the base, but so much damage has been done.
And Cuve's healing up on the Warmog, so a nice build. And they get in, yes, they're going to find the backline. Ambition gets the shield, though. Look at the Nethergrass. They will knock down Blank.
Faker's coming from behind now, full HP on this combat. He needs to stop SKT from losing.
The flash Q's not going to find a kill though for Huni. Can he keep SKT alive? Look for Ambition. One more attack. Turns the Crown. Yes, a double for Huni. The mid lane stays alive. Now Faker in the melee range of Cuvee. But a manaless Cho'Gath is not a threat. They're going to keep chasing. The chomp is in. There is no way out for Cho'Gath. SKT will hold on.
This game is insane. SKT just managed to defend. Eventually, they kill Cuvee as well and buy a bit more time, but there are no Nexus turrets.
And there's an Elder Dragon about to arrive at the Rift. 10 more seconds, and he will be there. SK Telecom need to utilize this to further the moment that they have.
And they have 4 Drakes. This is a huge buff for SKT to try and go down and get a big team fight to win the game.
There is no easy way to keep Ambition out of the pit, though. He's got a blast cone here, and he's got his Q to get back out if they need it. So far, not looking for the play just yet. It's going to be SKT able to mostly untouched go for this play. I don't believe Samsung sees now they do, but Huni does not kill the ward away. Controller turns it off though, and Ambition going to turn back. This will be the 5-stack Elder Dragon for SKT.
There is a ward in the base of SKT, but it will die very soon. So despite double TP on Samsung's side, they can't use it to try and backdoor if SKT are pushing down the mid lane.
You can barely get closer than this. SK Telecom defend inside their base and are back out onto the map now with a huge buff. True damage coming through with the Elder Dragon. And let's take another look at how it initiated. The knock up here onto Bang got so much out of him, but Faker was the one to go down in the casualty.
SKT look done. They look completely out of it after they lost that fight at the Baron, but this is now the turnaround.
Faker teleports in behind the rest of the team in the river here. As you can see, Huni trying to re-engage with Blank. Faker then comes up through the jungle, and they were able to get off most of those kills and defend their base.
So the Elder Dragon buff lasts 2.5 minutes, and this is going to be an insane amount of damage out of the squad. They've got to get something with this one, buy some time until their inhibitor respawns. Looking right now at the mid lane siege, the primary priority.
Samsung just trying to kill the minions every time they show up. They just want to make sure they do not lose too much of their base. 5 members in the mid lane. The 2 side waves are slow pushing here at the moment. So SKT are trying to just get mid.
It's going to fall. Will there be more? They're going to get the stun on Ambition, and a few more auto attacks. Stays alive.
Again, there's no flash on Ruler. There's no flash on Crown. SK Telecom want to utilize this opening that they have.
Well, ulti down for both, though, means one less tool to use. Blank is flashless. It is very hard to get on Gragas without that summoner spell available.
And still no minions. Waiting for the next wave. Bot lane, again, it's slow pushing for SKT. Top lane, slow pushing for Samsung. So they're waiting just for this mid lane wave.
There's only under a minute left on this Elder Dragon buff right now. This is basically the last minion wave they get for this kind of play as they push down the mid lane. Of course, that super minion taking so long to kill it just delays all of the attempts that would be had out of SKT. The minions cleared away by Rupture, by the Malzahar silence, and everything else Varus can do. Mid lane going to be stymied.
And the tanks on SKT need to be careful. We have seen multiple fights now where Crown uses his Malzahar ulti on the tank, and QA follows up with his Feast from the Cho'Gath. And that is so much damage even for a frontline tank. It stops SKT from just running straight at Samsung.
Bot lane's crashing into the lane by Samsung Galaxy right now. As mid is still being pushed with the last vestiges of Elder Dragon for about 5 seconds left. And it will not be a fight. Samsung Galaxy hold. Bot lane wave crashing in right now, though.
Yeah, it's too much pressure for SKT to deal with. They are still keeping their undefeated elimination streak alive, but just barely here.
The slimmest of margins, and you just heard the announcer say the middle inhibitor is respawning, so SKT will not have a Nexus be backdoored, but still being turretless means if you flinch for 5 seconds, the inhibitor is gone and Nexus will follow.
And there's been so many huge moments in this game here, even where small things mattered a lot. Tenacity on Devour, so he steps out of a ulti from a Gragas and he stays alive. Now we have Baron spawning in 5 seconds. Ruler, Flash is ready, so it's the same here for Crown. SKT will not have an easy time turning around and forcing a fight, but man, they need to win this next team fight or the game is over.
SKT mount the comeback in the series, or does Samsung Galaxy get the comeback in the game to close it out 3-0? Killer on Kuva, he backs off. Mid lane priority right now. I want to see Vision because I don't think Samsung Galaxy can see much of that SKT river up there, but they can always pressure mid. Looking at it now is Ambition, getting the slow onto Huni. Shot back by Bang. Kuva's to hold at the front line, and Samsung Galaxy push mid first.
As you can see, the
flash hold left. They've caught Faker. They've got the CC. The mid laner is down. The unkillable Demon King has done just that. As Ruler stays in, life stealing in the back line. They found more as Huni does not have a way out. Pops the Yolt, but he has no exit route. 2 more autos will kill him down, but he gets to run away. They twitch to their aggro. They knock down Wolf instead. 5v3 in mid.
In the moment of truth, they flash on Faker, and they take out the heart of SK Telecom.
Faker had no flash when the fight started. They knew that, so they used everything to kill him.
A game-winning pick, a championship-winning pick for Ruler. That might be the Flash R that signals the end of the SKT dynasty. There are no turrets. It is 5 versus 3. Huni, do you have what it takes to win the game? Bang certainly does not. Ruler on the Nexus. The upset is complete as the kills come through. The SKT dynasty is over. All hail the new kings. Samsung Galaxy, your 2017 champions! What a deserved walkout. The deafening cheers of tens of thousands of cheering Chinese fans. Samsung Galaxy, the only team to ever dethrone SKT at Worlds. They do it on the biggest stage League has ever seen.
And they do it in the biggest way. 3-0 versus SK Telecom. You could see the emotion on the Samsung Galaxy players' faces. That is an entire year waiting to get back to this moment, waiting for the rematch, and they made it count.
Every single player talked about revenge against SKT, and they got it. Faker is destroyed.
And now it's relief on the side of Samsung, anguish on the side of SKT. Coma and Faker have won every single Worlds they attended until today. In their second attempt, Samsung Galaxy, everyone on this squad, for the first time ever, gets to hoist the Summoners Cup in Beijing, in the Bird's Nest. And tens of thousands erupt in cheers over the deserved world champions, and what a run they had to take. European champions in their group, Korean champions in their quarterfinal, what people called the best Chinese team in the semi, and SKT, the reigning world champions in the final. Every one of them defeated.
There is no greater achievement in League of Legends than beating SKT in a world final.
(9-1) in the top 8. No one came close to them in a best of 5.
Their controlled style
让我们把
reigns
全场的
supreme.
掌声送给2017英雄联盟全球总决赛冠军三星战队。同样，我们有请 Ambition 来到我们的身边。哇，我们现在要采访一下我们的 Ambition 安长们。好的，在恭喜完了三星获得冠军之后，此时此刻，作为队伍的功勋的传奇的打野选手，最想跟所有支持三星和支持你们的粉丝说的话是什么？
결승전 이기고 지금 팬한테랑 삼성 지지한 사람들한테 뭔 얘기하고 싶어요?
All right, as Rendong sets up this interview with Ambition, we have to welcome Lexi to the analyst desk as she's going to help us work through some translations here in the ceremony of the trophy.
Thank you, Dash, for the invitation. Well, right now, Rendong's just asking Ambition how he feels and what does he want to say to all the
首先
crowd.
的话，他觉得这一切很不真实。然后的话，他觉得应该是他2年的努力，导致他今天能获胜，是一个最重要的结果。然后现
Well,
在
Ambition
感谢
thinks
所有人，
that this
感谢他
win
老婆。
today is really unrealistic, and it's really all the hard
英
work
雄
that he's been
制
putting
服
into this
传奇
game,
就
and
是像
finally it's
Ambition
paid
这样
off.
的电竞老兵在战场上一次又一次的努力奋斗，获得了这次的冠军。那么我接下来问一个问题：是怎么样一种动力让你坚持在这个战场上浴血奋斗呢？
So now Rendong's actually asking Ambition what really is driving him? What's the motivation behind all of this hard work that's put into League of Legends for him?
Many years in the making here, this victory for Ambition.
그냥 기왕 하는 거 최선을 다하자 그런 생각을 많이 했었고요. 그래서 이렇게 결국에 최종적으로는 그런 목표를 이룬 것 같아서 진짜 5년, 6년 동안 열심히 했던 게 지금 빛을 보는 것 같습니다.
他觉得既然作为一个职业选手也好， 然后一定要把自己能做的事情都做了， 然后
thinks
现在
that
打
as
了
a
5、6
professional
年，终于拿到
player,
他
it's
想
really
要的目
important
标
for
了。
him to really do
我
the
们再
best
一
that
次
he
把掌
can
声
with
送
this
给
game,
2017英
and
雄联
now
盟
he's
的
finally
冠军
able
战队
to get this
恭喜
championship cup.
三星！
A much-deserved victory
好
for
的，
him
感谢我们的
and
翻译
the
军队，谢
remainder
谢
of the。
那此
Samsung
时此刻的话，我们接
organization.
下来就要我们的三星战队来享受我们的荣耀时刻了。我们有请的是我们的拳头游戏的联合创始人 Mark 和 Brandon， 以及拳头中国负责人 Johnson 上台为他们来进行颁发属于他们的最高
Now
荣耀。
Rendong is welcoming to the stage the co-founders of Riot Games, Brandon Beck and Mark Merrill, as well as Riot's head of China, Johnson Yang. They will be performing the medal
经过
ceremony.
了入围赛到8强的争夺，到半决赛的厮杀，最终在北京鸟巢，三星获得了今年的全球总决赛的冠
Samsung
军。
has been
有
through a
请我
lot
们的
this
3位
entire
嘉宾
world now,
为他们
from
颁
groups
发荣耀。
from groups and then up until now. They really played a lot of games and played like a lot
此
of
时此
tough
刻
games.
我们要把掌声送给
As
台
we
上的
see
每一
Huni
位选
exiting
手
the stage, still
无
in
论
search
输
of his
还是
first
赢
world
他们都
championship.
在
It's time to
都在
celebrate
今天的比
each
赛为
of
我
the
们呈现
individual
了最
members
高水
of the
准的
winning
对
team
决。
today.
让我们记住台上的冠军选手们，上路 LCK 单杀王今天表现出色的 QV， 刚刚制出传奇。 获得冠军的打野传奇
Crown getting that victory that he's been striving from since last year, given an impossible task to match Faker, and he does that today.
And it was Ruler getting caught out a year ago that capped off the win for SKT. It was Ruler catching out the best of all time in Faker that won them this game through.
For Core JJ, ADC to support, and within such a short period of time to be able to hoist the trophy, can only imagine. And then the coach, Edgar, the man who's leading the charge for this entire squad.
Assistant coach Trace as well, formerly of Jin Air, top laner there, came in, helped with the pick and ban, and they were super solid with that in this tournament.
感谢 Johnson， 请回到我们的舞台。这样的话，我们一起留下值得纪念的时刻。与此同时，英雄制出传奇2017英雄联盟全球总决赛的冠军是三星 Galaxy。
One more time, the Bird's Nest will cheer for our champion, Samsung Galaxy 3-0
2017
over
英
the
雄联
reigning
盟
world
全球
champions.
总决赛冠军诞生。所有的召唤师们，让我们 S8 再见。
Legends never die when the world is calling me. Can you hear them screaming out your name? And legends never die. They never lose hope when everything's cold and the fighting's near. It's deep in their bones, they're riding to smoke when the fighter's fierce. Oh, pick yourself up, 'cause legends never die. Legends never die. Legends never die. Oh, 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 oh. Legends never die. Oh, oh, oh. Legends never die. They're written down in eternity, but you'll never see the price it costs. The scars collected all their lives. When everything's lost, they pick up their hearts and avenge defeat. Before it all starts, they suffer through harm just to touch a dream. Oh, pick yourself up, 'cause legends never die. Legends never die. Legends never die. Oh, 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 oh. Legends never die. Oh, 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 oh. deeper dive, eternal silence of the sea. I'm breathing alive. Where are you now? Where are you now? Where bright but faded light, you set my heart on fire. Where are you now? Where are you Where are you now? Hey, nights under the sea, under the sea. Where are you now? I'm on a dream. The monster's running wild inside me. I'm flying. I'm flying. So lost. I'm flying. I'm flying. So lost. I'm flying.
Pillar for Huni, looks for the barrel slow. That's going to be in there, and there's no way out. First blood comes through without even a summoner spell burn. And the re-engage lands a stun and a blink. Can they get the damage up? But not just yet. The re-engage, though. Ambition going to fall to Wolf's damage, but they trade back. They knock back into the wall once again. Huni's in the mix, and he got the first kill. One carry is down. The re-engage looks for Crown. This Malzahar not long for the world. Has flash. Doesn't matter. Giant silence and Akube, and he blows up. Bang! That's a 1-for-0. The chase-in is there, and they're going to get rid of the bot lane entirely. And kill them for Huni. Can he keep SKT alive? Look for Ambition. One more attack. Turns to Crown. Yes, a double for Huni. You can see the flash ult left. They've caught Faker. They've got the CC. The mid laner is down. The unkillable Demon King has done just that. As Ruler stays in, life stealing. In the back line, they found more as Huni does not have a way out. Pops to Yolt, but he has no exit route. The SKT dynasty is over. All hail the new kings. Samsung Galaxy, your 2017 world champion.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. A 3-0 series for Samsung Galaxy to dethrone the reigning champions in SK Telecom T1. What an occasion. What a way to do it. You said at the top of the day, if you're going to start a dynasty, there's no better way to cement or start a dynasty than taking down SK Telecom T1.
And we knew that it had to end someday. You talked about it, but I didn't think it would be tonight, and I never thought it would look like this. I never thought that SKT's reign of terror would end in a clean 3-0. Samsung answered all questions.
Yeah, and it's so interesting, right? We've been saying SKT has been wounded, but they consistently were able to come up in the clutch. And even in this game, it felt like it was going to be close down to that very last moment, but they were in a position to lose. They were down 2-0 in the series, and when Faker got caught by that flash ult from Ruler, it's over, and now Samsung are the world champions.
And it's so surreal, guys, because you mentioned the point. It is the start of a new Odyssey, maybe even a new dynasty for Samsung Galaxy. But it's just the start. I wrote that in capitals because they still haven't had any domestic success. It's the first time that a world champion never won the domestic league. Sure, you can say Samsung White. It took a roster swap. It was under MVP Ozone. This team has never even made it to a final since they came together with Cuvée at the start of 2015, and now they're world champions. It's just surreal.
What a sweet resume to have. World champions. Never won a domestic title.
Didn't even qualify.
What else have you
There's
done?
no second line. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. World champions. That's
Fourth
it.
place LCK Summer.
Absolutely crazy.
But in
World
the bracket
absolutely
stage,
crazy.
3-0 Longzhu, 3-0 SKT. dominant Worlds.
We're going to have plenty of time to talk about this series, this team, this tournament as a whole. Before we do that, I want to relive a couple moments from this third and final game, starting actually with an SKT replay. 20-30 into the game, 3-0 for SKT plus the Baron. This is what you talk about, Jat. Looked good.
This was close right here. You can see Ruler's flashless. SKT is decisive. They get a bunch of damage done onto him, and they eliminate him before the start of the fight. Meanwhile, Samsung is all filed in, trying to save him.
And with the amount of power that this team actually had in the mid game, you felt like with these kills, with this Baron, the Karma Tersana, Trundle so far ahead, surely we were going to a fourth game.
Because how good has SKT been with the lead this Worlds? They've been perfect. They've actually been coming back from so many deficits. It felt like SKT would have had this one in the bag.
We saw the stat, 8-0 with leads at 15. They had a lead at 15 in this game. Now there's a blemish on that record for Worlds 2017.
But there was still creeping doubt. The moment they took the Baron, they couldn't quite break the base. You said, okay, there's still reset potential here. Flash is up on Ruler. They can still win a team fight because when you have the Karma, you are sacrificing damage. Bang picked up 4 kills, and that allowed the mid game to be slightly on time for SKT, but it was still moments away from breaking, and break it did.
And it felt like SKT was playing a little bit nervous. I mean, never sending Huni to a side lane when he has this huge advantage. They have the Baron. They had him grouped so often. When you're at this point with a Baron buff, you can just ignore the Cho'Gath and be hitting those inhibitor turrets.
And the nerves may have shown just 11 minutes later. 31-30 into the game. Samsung Galaxy with the return. 3-0 plus the Baron. This replay brought to you by Acer Predator.
This fight was so close. Crucially, Ruler doesn't get knocked back by the Gragas ultimate. The wall and the Trundle pillar prevent him from doing so.
And then he gets a bit of a favor from Bang, you have to say, getting him to safety. He's got the standing DPS. He has the Ardent Sensor. He's going to stay relevant in a fight, and they can fight front to back in a fight that should never have been possible for Samsung.
And I mean, it's Bang jumping into melee range of the Cho'Gath there, knocking Ruler to safety and then instantly dying, and that is where the gold and the power was focused for SKT, because they have a mid lane Karma supporting that Tristana. He needed to be the star in the fights.
The suppress goes down, Blank taken out, no chance of a steal there. With that Baron buff, able to kind of move themselves back into the game, but it wasn't over at that point. Again, Samsung needed to finish it out. Constantly, we said, this team looks like they're one fight away. Misfits is one fight away from eliminating SKT. Well, same situation for Samsung, but they needed to execute.
It's one thing when you can say you're able to stay calm and take down SKT. It's another thing when you actually do it when they are in the midst of a turnaround. So Ruler being able to get the pick onto Faker, especially killing Faker, is just such a fitting way for Samsung to actually finish this game. SKT was just coming back right here. Flash ult, no flash on Faker.
And we're talking about seconds till Faker's flashes up. It actually looks up on the screen from where we're watching, but that decisive pick leads to the cascade, leads to the end of the game, and such a sweet release for Ruler, who of course lost the game for them a year ago.
He nearly died making that play. He went down to about 10% health.
Yeah, and how many times have you seen Faker be the guy who makes that play for his team, who finds the catch, who turns around the team fight and pulls SKT back, securing that victory? This time, it's him on the receiving end.
And listen, Faker has had one of his best Worlds ever.
Easily.
That game was his worst game of Worlds. Maybe the worst game he's had at Worlds. And it sucks for him that it happened in this moment, because he's played so great, and you can see how crushed he was, because he overpressed on his Karma roams. He was out of position in the mid and late game, and it was on Samsung to capitalize on it and not let Faker flex on them like he's done to so many other teams before.
Maybe his worst game of Worlds yet, but still very much the best player in the world. And Crown, we said it at the top of the day, he had one job. His job was to contain Faker, not necessarily to beat him, but to stack up against him in the lane. We're going to toss it down to Shox now as she's standing by with Samsung Galaxy's mid laner.
Thank you very much, guys. The first person I get to talk to is newly world champion Crown, and the first thing I have to ask is how much does it mean to you to be able to lift the cup, beat SKT, and become a world champion today?
크라운 선수 우승을 정말 축하드립니다. 우선 첫 번째 질문으로는 당연히 이제 우승을 차지하고 소환사컵을 들어 올렸을 때 어떤 기분이 들었는지 말씀해 주세요.
이때까지 드는 거를 보기만 했었잖아요. 그런데 이렇게 우승컵을 최고의 무대에서 최고의 선수들과 최고의 코치 감독님들과 드니까 굉장히 기쁘더라고요. 아, 이게 그렇게 기뻐서 그렇게 신나게 들던 트로피구나 하면서 굉장히 즐거웠습니다.
I mean, like in the past, I only had a chance to watch other teams, other players hoist the Summers Cup, the Champions Cup, but being here with the best teammates, best team, best coaching staff, and having that experience to lift up that Summers Cup. Now I can understand why other players look so happy when they were lifting that Summers Cup in the past. And overall, it was just the best experience.
Well, fantastic effort as a team, but we've been following your story personally since last year, and we know how hard you worked to get to this point. So, Crown, do you now finally feel redeemed?
특히나 크라운 선수는 작년부터 이제 올해까지 이제 여러 다큐 영상 찍고 크라운 선수 개인적인 그런 사연을 많이 이제 방송을 찍고 했었는데요. 드디어 이제 이 자리에서 우승을 차지함으로써 본인이 작년에 그러한 이제 실패 준우승을 만회하고 이제 다시 한번 회복했다 생각하시나요?
그렇게까지 뭐 회복을 했다 이런 건 잘 모르겠어요. 왜냐하면 그때 느꼈던 감정이 또 있고 지금 느껴지는 감정이 있어서 그냥 최근 이번 롤드컵 자체는 정말 제가 처음으로 대회를 진심으로 즐겁게 했지 않나 그렇게 생각합니다.
So I'm not sure if I'm completely redeemed because like last year, of course, it was a defeat and I had like different feelings at that time and now it's a victory, but I don't think I can like compare those feelings together. But overall, throughout this entire World Championship, I had the most fun, and I enjoyed so much competing in this tournament.
That's what I heard you talking about beforehand. You said that you just had so much fun today. Can you kind of explain how that is? Because to me and to a lot of people, it just seems like a very stressful environment, but you were just having fun with it. How is that?
이제 따로 얘기하실 때 오늘 경기할 때 정말 즐겁게 게임하셨다고 말씀하는 걸 들었는데 사실 남들은 이렇게 큰 무대에서 경기하는 게 되게 부담스럽고 스트레스 받을 텐데 크라운 선수는 어떻게 그렇게 즐겁게 게임하셨는지 정말 정확히 어떠한 감정을 느끼셨는지 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
네. 일단 길어질 수도 있는데 조별 예선 2주차부터 게임을 즐기자고 했어요. 대회 때 즐기자. 왜냐? 그 전까지 계속 안 됐기 때문에 그냥 바꿔서 이제 즐기자. 그래서 그때부터 해서 오늘까지 계속 대회 때마다 즐기자는 마인드로 계속하고 관중들을 보고 느끼고 그런 감정들을 재밌게 받아들이고 그러다 보니까 오늘 경기도 결승전도 1, 2, 3세트 모두 다 즐거웠던 것 같아요. 네.
So actually, I changed my mindset starting from week 2 of group stage. Because until then, I was playing under a lot of pressure and I was underperforming, and it was really a really stressful experience. But after week 2 of group stage, I changed my mindset to rather have fun and enjoy the stage. I think that's when myself and my team was performing even better. And even starting from then, I just enjoyed the entire World Championship experience. And even here, the finals, I had a lot of fun playing game 1, 2, and 3, and I think that's why I could have performed better. And overall, it was just a really, really fun experience.
Well, the key to victory, fun. Well, we've definitely had a lot of fun watching you guys throughout the tournament. Fantastic. Congratulations, Crown, the world champion. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Chucks. I've been saying it for years.
It's fun to win, Dash.
Smiles win games. I'm telling you, smiles win games, and fun is an aspect of that. He landed on it in week 2 of groups, and here he is taking down Faker in the finals.
Triple Malzahar games. He didn't have to do anything insane. Yeah, and he laned well in all of those games. Never really got absolutely smashed, and then always had really great patience in those team fights with his ultimates.
I mean, what was his goal? What did we ascribe to Crown? We said contain Faker. Trying to kill him, that'd be great, but containing him, stopping his map movements, big A+ on that one.
And I think he actually did one better because I was expecting them to have to get counter picks for him to be able to contain Faker. He actually was blind picking, getting counter picked, giving them advantages in drafts, and still performing great. So I think Crown exceeded expectations.
A very huge performance out of Crown today, and now the journey to the Summoners Cup came with many obstacles, but none more great than actually playing in front of this crowd here in the Bird's Nest. And one player in particular stepped up to the occasion and earning Samsung Galaxy the championship. So our finals MVP is going to Ruler.
Yeah, and during the pregame show, we hardly talked about this guy because in the semifinals, he kind of just existed. But he laned so well. He team fought so well in this game. And even though Samsung mostly won as a team, Ruler did stand out by having amazing team fight performances.
And it was hard to convince people how much this guy had stepped up because he struggled in group stages. But Ruler last year was a bit of a liability for Samsung Galaxy. He's made his game so much more reliable. I mean, look at the kill participation here. Above 90% in every game, 100% in 2. This team plays around the bot side. They play around Ruler.
I mean, he had an absurd performance, and on the biggest stages, stars can be born, and I think that Ruler's star is shining very bright right now. The finals MVP from one of the most unexpected places.
And here's the thing. I'm going to do you one better on the kill participation stats because I think it actually speaks so much to the way that Samsung Galaxy plays and executes. Ambition had 100% KP for the entire series.
Holy
which
crap.
means that, you know, that third column where Ruler fell short by like a single kill, Ambition was a part of it. But I think, again, it speaks to that style that Samsung plays. They won as a full 5-man unit.
Yeah, you look at that team kill participation, it's going to be probably up in 80 or 90%, which is kind of insane. And that goes to show, like, yes, SKT made a few mistakes, which were punished by Samsung, but Samsung played mistake-free. Like, that's how they 3-0'd Longshu. That's how they won 3 games in a row against Team WE. And that's how they 3-0'd SKT right here. They weren't getting picked off. They weren't relying on 1v1 outplays at all.
But as we talk about Ruler, it's time now to throw it down to Shox, who's standing by with our World Finals MVP.
Thank you very much, guys. I grabbed our MVP here, Rule, and also the first thing I have to ask him is what it feel like to be a world champion.
룰러 선수 MVP로 선정되셨는데요. 우선 우승 소감 어떠신지 말씀해 주세요.
일단 3대0으로 이길 때 진짜 꿈에도 몰랐는데 이렇게 이겨서 너무너무 기쁘고 저희가 당연히 이렇게 제가 MVP로 당연히 받을 줄 알았습니다.
I couldn't even dream of winning 3-0 against SKT at the finals, but I did expect that I would get the MVP.
So one thing went as expected. When it comes to your performance, if you look at the journey that you guys have been through, not only the last year, but also these past couple of weeks at World, how do you reflect on how you guys as a team adapted and evolved coming into this final and eventually winning it?
이제 삼성 팀이 작년 롤드컵부터 이제 올해 우승까지 사실은 정말 많은 일들을 겪으셨는데요. 지금까지 우승까지 1년을 어떻게 보냈는지 팀으로서 어떻게 팀이 더욱더 강해지고 더욱더 진화하고 변화에 적응하고 어떻게 우승까지 다 도달했는지 말씀해 주세요.
일단 저희가 되게 롤드컵을 준우승을 하고 와서 계속 연습에 좀 몰두를 했는데 좀 잘 안 되고 스크린도 좀 많이 다치고 그러면서 하다가 어떻게 운 좋게 몇 번씩 이기면서 좀 흐름 잡고 다시 좀 연승 이어나가다가 또 끊기고 하면서 좀 플레이오프에서도 좀 터지고 그러다가 이제 썸머 때도 뭐 똑같이 이어가다가 선발전 때 저희가 죄송해요. 선발전 때 저희가 꼭 이기자고 팀원들끼리 하면서 이렇게 됐던 것 같아요. 저예요? 저주세요. 이렇게 하면서 롤드컵까지 왔는데 롤드컵에서 똑같았어요. 근데 이게 우승까지 해서 좋아요.
So after we placed second last year at Worlds, we tried to focus on practicing and getting back up. But then the practice was really rough. Like we had a really bad results during scrims, and we had like really bad results like starting in like spring, and we like lost at spring playoffs, and even in summer like nothing went to as planned, and like maybe losing at summer playoffs, and like we faced a lot of difficulties in like building up this team chemistry and this team performance. And finally at regional qualifiers, this is when we actually like grouped together and said we have to win this match. And after that, I think we actually played much better as a team. And through that journey, we were able to manage step by step winning at Worlds. And I think this is how we came eventually as winning the entire tournament.
If you were able to overcome all that and win the Summoners Cup this year, what does that mean for the future of you guys as a team?
우승을 어렵게 차지한 만큼 앞으로 이후에 어떤 절차 남아 있을까? 어떠한 미래가 있을까요? 삼성 팀한테는?
밝은 미래만 있을 거예요. 그리고 이제 2번 연속 왔으니까 3번 연속, 4번 연속 꼭 오도록 노력하겠습니다.
So I can only hope for a brighter future for our team. And this is our second consecutive year at Worlds. I can only wish for a third, fourth, and fifth consecutive year at Worlds.
We'll be looking out for that. I also heard that you wanted to say something to the fans, Ruler.
마지막으로 팬분들께 한마디 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
저희가 이렇게 우승할 줄 뭐 아무도 솔직히 모르셨을 텐데 이렇게 우승하게 된 게 팬분들 덕분이라 생각하고 또 더 다른 거 얘기해도 돼요? 네, 저희 라이엇 분들이랑 협회 분들이 저희를 되게 많이 도와주셔서 정말 감사하다고 말씀 전하고 싶고 이제 코치 감독님 진짜 너무너무 감사합니다. 그리고 부모님 항상 응원해 주셔서 감사해요. 사랑합니다.
So I want to say thanks to all the fans. I'm pretty sure nobody expected us to win, even our fans. But I want to say that without our fans, we couldn't have been able to do this. And also I want to say thanks to Riot and Kespa for always supporting us And without those help, I think we wouldn't also have been able to make it up to this point. And also, I want to say thanks to the coaching staff and to my parents for always cheering for me, and I want to say that I love them.
Fantastic. Thank yous to everyone, but it's all you guys. You did it. You won today. Congratulations. Fantastic performance. Ruler and Samsung, back over to you guys.
Thank you, Shocks. Love to the fans, love to the parents, love to see that. But he hopes for a brighter future for Samsung Galaxy. I don't know how much brighter it can get. As he mentioned, it's a third, a fourth, a fifth consecutive.
How about a
Worlds.
three-peat?
How about
breaking
a three-peat?
SKT's record?
Do what SKT was unable to do. That would be, quite a way to make a statement, and once again, to cement themselves as even a better team in LoL history.
Yeah, we talked about what they had the potential to do, right? Prevent SKT's 3P, prevent SKT from winning 4 out of 5, and they've done it. Samsung are now 2-time world champions, and I really want to see if they can carry this forward, right? We mentioned they don't have that domestic title yet. Do they now have that confidence? This is the best we've ever seen Samsung.
Agreed.
Whether or not they played in Korea, really, tonight was the best we've ever seen Samsung look, and can they carry it forward?
And throughout the years, we've looked at this team, and we've looked at one player as being kind of the core leader, right, in terms of personality and stepping up to the plate and maturity. And we were talking about him just a little bit before that interview. The 100% kill participation from Ambition. His career, or rather Faker's career, started against him. He moves to the jungle. He looks for his finals victory over Faker. Papa Smithy, let's talk about this guy, the journey that he's taken to get to the Summoners Cup.
I mean, it's better than any anime. Starting his career, starting Faker's career, was built off the reputation of Ambition. Ambition was the best mid laner in Korea, got solo killed by Faker. Faker went to Worlds that year, started up the SKT World Domination. It took Ambition a further 3 years. He was a 5-year pro the first time he made it to Worlds, made World Final last year. Consider that at that point, we anointed him the best player to have never made Worlds. Finally made it in 2016, and now a year later, to have him as a world champion, this person who represents the start of the Korean scene to basically every Korean fan. They remember MIG Blaze. They remember MIG Frost. This guy was in the thick of it, and now he's a world champion.
And he's married, too. Right? We're in a culture where a lot of times having a girlfriend is frowned upon by your peers because you might not have enough time to practice. Ambition is now a married world champion on top of everything else.
He's
the
got it
5
all.
years
He's
journey
got
back
it
to the
all.
top.
Ambition anime coming to a theater near you soon, right? Would you watch it? I'd watch it.
I would watch it.
We just did.
We did. You're right. We lived it.
There
we
were 6 seasons.
We lived the anime that was Ambition. Time now for one more interview. This time down to Samsung Galaxy's top laner. Shocks, take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. Here we are again with Cuvée this time around. And I do want to focus in also on the matchup and your competition here, because what did it come down to that made you not only beat SKT, but beat them 3-0?
우선 우승을 축하드리고요. 특히나 경기에 대해서 여쭙고 싶은데요. 어떻게 삼성팀이 준비를 했길래 SKT를 꺾을 뿐만 아니라 3-0으로 이길 정도로 이렇게 엄청난 경기력을 갖추게 되었는지 말씀해 주세요.
저희가 연습 과정에서는 솔직히 그 연습 상대가 없어서 그 개인적으로 1대1을 하거나 아니면 그냥 솔로 랭크에서 그냥 이걸 한번 해보고 괜찮은 것 같다라고 좀 그런 식으로만 준비를 했어요. 그래서 저희는 그래도 걱정이 되긴 하는데 그래도 이렇게 해야지 우리는 이길 수 있다. 이렇게 확실히 가지셨거든요, 감독 코치님께서. 그래서 저희도 알겠다 하고 그렇게 해가지고 잘 된 것 같습니다.
So actually for the final week, we didn't have any scrim partners, so I played like 1v1 and played some solo queue. So we weren't too confident with our practice, but through like numerous discussions with our coaching staff, like they told us that it's like follow our strategy and we can win no matter what. So we trusted our coaches and we just follow through.
You guys won game 1 super convincingly, and then in game 2 already we saw it was a good counter pick. Oh, can we start again? Are they rolling that? Sorry. If they are, then I'm just going to continue speaking.
They were rolling that, Shocks.
Unfortunate.
Just so you know. But hey, a word from Cuvée and what it meant for him taking the title here. And as we got a shot of the Bird's Nest now vacated, but again, just moments ago, 40,000 plus people in here screaming, chanting, wondering, waiting on the edge of their seats to see if it would all come toppling down. And Cuvée was the man charged with dealing with Huni in the top lane. Right at the beginning of the day, we were like, which top laner is going to bend to the other top laner's will? And Cuvée prevailed.
He certainly did, and by a long shot, I think. And it seemed like he was so confident in playing any style.
Yep.
I mean, when he brings out the Kennen, he plays Huni's style. He's TPing back to lane. He's playing purely for himself, and he's smashing Huni in this 1v1. And when Huni goes for the counter pick, it's him bending but not breaking and finding the incredible team fight on Gnar to turn around a game. And he really has done it all throughout this tournament and is clearly one of the best in the world.
And we had a lot of nice things to say about Cuvée, but I think we add a new adjective. I think clutch, because I think he had a fantastic series and stepped up every time he needed to. Counter pick or no, he was doing exactly what he needed to at every moment. And that's something new for Cuvée and something for him to continue building on.
All right, Shox, I'm going to give you one more chance here. Time to head back down and talk to Samsung Galaxy's top laner.
In game 2, we saw the counter pick coming out of Huni in the top lane, but it's still a risky pick. Did that give you confidence that you would be able to do better or win that game and the rest of the series?
1경기에는 압도적인 경기력으로 승리를 거두셨지만 2경기에서 SKT 이제 훈이 선수가 탑에서 이제 나르를 카운터픽하는 야소 챔피언을 골랐는데요. 비록 야소가 카운터픽이긴 하지만 사실은 결승전에서 매우 좀 리스크가 큰 챔피언인데 그 픽을 봤을 때 어떠한 생각 들었고 자신감을 오히려 더 생기셨는지 궁금합니다.
이제 그냥 뽑았을 때 이제 훈이 선수가 이제 승부수를 보는구나라고 생각을 했어요. 근데 제 입장에서는 제가 한국에서도 나르를 연습했을 때 그때 야소장이 굉장히 잘하시는 분이 한 명 있거든요. 그분한테 상대를 해봐서 충분히 야소 상대법도 알고 자신감도 충분히 있었기 때문에 그렇게 큰 상관 없었어요.
So when I saw Huni pick Yasuo pick, I thought that well, okay, this is his move. This is what he prepared for this finals. But back when I was practicing Korea, I played Gnar on solo queue a lot, and I actually played against really talented like Yasuo amateur players. And through that practice, I was confident that I knew how to play around that Yasuo pick. So that didn't really concern me at all.
All right, well, you guys did close it out. In the end, Ambition talked in a video beforehand about how when other teams play SKT, they get in their own minds. I heard some of your team members say they were just having fun here today on stage, but how did you manage to keep composure in that very back and forth third game to close the series out?
그 앰비션 선수가 다른 인터뷰에서 SKT랑 경기하는 다른 팀 선수들은 이제 보통 너무나 SKT를 의식한 나머지 스스로 자멸한 경우가 있다라고 얘기를 했었는데 이제 그만큼 냉정을 유지하고 집중을 계속 하는 게 중요할 것 같다라고 말씀하셨는데 이제 그 다른 선수들은 인터뷰에서 정말 즐겁게 경기했다라고 이렇게 얘기를 했었는데 큐베 선수는 3경기에서 SKT가 매섭게 반격을 하는 동안에 어떻게 끝까지 집중을 해서 경기를 이겨냈는지 말씀해 주세요.
저희가 3경기 당시에는 중간에 실수가 있었어도 저희가 그래도 자신감이 있었던 게 칸타라면 우리는 이길 수 있다라고 다 같이 그렇게 생각을 했어요. 그래서 그런 생각 때문에 5명이 다 일심동체가 돼가지고 좀 칸타를 하다 보니까 칸타가 잘 돼서 거기서 이제 다시 역전이 되면서 다시 이길 수 있었던 것 같아요.
So for game 3, even though SKT had a really fierce comeback, altogether our team, we were confident that we had a better team fight and that we could win that team fight for the late game. So after that, we just played as one single team, and we all had trusted each other, and we played it out, won the team fight, brought the game back, and we won the game.
Yeah, close it out beautifully. Congratulations again. Thank you for rolling with the punches, Homan. Great job, Cuvée. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Shox. Solo queue, of all places, was where Cuvée found the answer and the skills necessary to win a
there
world
are some
championship.
super sick one-trick players on
That's
the
what
ladder,
I'm saying.
to be fair. I mean, you can actually, the pros are incredible at a vast array of champions, but you can find some even more individually talented players on one single champion if you're playing a lot of solo queue.
But I also want to look at that final question and his response there because, again, it's tailored very specifically to that mentality of facing SKT, staring down the barrel of that gun, and all of a sudden SKT has control of game 3. You think the series might run away from you, and what it takes from a mentality standpoint in order to come back in that game.
And they weren't lying in all of their quotes that we've seen in all of the teases. They gained the experience last year. Even though they were down 2-0 to SKT, they then won 2 in a row and were unable to make it 3 in a row. And I think they were so much more calm this time around, even after a little bit of adversity hits within the game, to be able to overtake SKT. They just had fun with it. They played it like any other game, and they're the world champions.
Well, to put a capper on this series, let's take a look at some of the big plays that graced the stage here in the Bird's Nest. First up, Spock96 called out the team fight, which triggered the first kills of the finals.
I really love the play when you start it, you bait out the blue trinket, you kill it, you go back to your mid lane, push it, and then you go back again!
Going for the play, can he get himself in? He's suppressed! The burst damage! Oh! This play was too early! Peanut with the game, saving Baron steal!
When Peanut gets into the pit, Crown wants to ult him instantly. It's actually smart by Peanut to try and ult Crown away, but now Ruler is hitting the Gragas instead of the Baron. You don't need to kill Gragas, you kill Baron.
And it's in moments like those where you see poise and experience really come out.
And that Baron steal made you think, hey, maybe SKT have something coming here, but Samsung did get 4 kills, and it didn't end up mattering.
Plenty of those moments within this series. Next up, Scarlet Kitten was floored by Kube's Gnarlt in Game 2 versus SKT.
Here comes the re-engage once again for Ambition. Wants to add the damage. Look at the blade, Colorado Ruler. Do they have the triple knockup? The follow-through for Cube. And he's going to fight for help, but still one death comes through. The suppression comes in. 4 kills already. One man stands alive, and he's going to fall. The ace for Samsung Galaxy.
That coordinated re-engage from Ambition and Cuvee was so seamless to lock up the SK Telecom backline.
I gotta say, our comms watching that were pretty similar to Samsung. Some stuff we can't repeat on air, but
admittedly so.
That was some excellence of execution from Cuvee. That was awesome.
Oh, very much so. But we have to acknowledge, too, how that was set up by the rest of the team, right?
Ambition ultimate, Ruler dodging the engage from Ryze while still being in range for the Featherstorm combo that kept them in place for the Gnar ultimate. That was exquisite.
A beautifully crafted play. Finally, Cloud Reed tweeted about the fight that turned Game 3 and basically earned Samsung the championship.
Crown's pretty far away from the rest of the team.
That's engage! Gets a stun and a Ruler, gets pushed back, he's gonna stay alive. Another re-engage, a giant silence and a Cube, and he blows up, bang! That's a 1-for-0, the chase-in is there, and they're gonna get rid of the bot lane entirely. There's no carries left for SKT.
Let's see it again here. They turn onto Ruler, they land the stun. He's now CC'd, and then he steps back, and it's Bang's ulti that ends up knocking Ruler further away, and then also puts Bang in the front line next to a massive Cho'Gath. Samsung doing it again. They're winning these big fights when they're behind. They're supposed to lose these team fights, yet they turn it around.
So many little things in that fight. And we just saw replays from turning points in all 3 games. Like, these were 3 very close games. The ultimate from Gragas not knocking Ruler in, Bang hitting him away, then eating the Cho'Gath feast to end up getting killed. And SKT had a massive lead in that game. And absolutely, that fight is what turned Game 3 around.
Yeah, and it's important to remember, 2 out of the 3 games they actually had the lead. In the Yasuo game as well, Samsung comes back twice, dominates once. Really, they beat them every way you can.
All right, well, thank you so much for sharing your tweets all worlds long, and make sure to keep sending them to @LO Esports so we can remember the epic plays from the entire tournament. And since we've crowned our champions, it seems only fitting we announce our final Best of the Rift, brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. For our champions, it's Cube, Ruler, and Crown. First up, it's Samsung Star in the top lane, Cube.
Yeah, and I think a clear runner-up for player of the series as well here. He played Huni's style in Game 1, better than Huni. He then played a team fight style in Game 2 and 3, which were critical in finding the fights that they needed. He showed he was so versatile in so many ways across this entire season, but most importantly, when it mattered most.
At every moment, he knew his role. Did he need to pressure? Did he need to pull back? What was his job, and how do you best execute it? He knew the answer every time.
Very much so. Next, we have the Samsung bot laner, Ruler.
Yeah, Ruler was also another great player in the series. Obviously, we gave him MVP for the series right here. The Xayah play was incredible, as well as being able to actually have Varus picked away from him in 2 different instances to be able to pull it out in Game 3.
Yeah, and Varus is such a strong early game pick, but they made it look like it was no threat whatsoever, doing very well in the bot lane, incredible in the team fights, and pulling off some of the best combos we've ever seen.
And last, but certainly not least, it's Crown.
This man loved his Malzahar, that's for sure. The Malzahar pick was a big one for them. So the containment job he did on Faker, he was tasked with it, he pulled it off, and he looked pretty sweet doing it himself.
Yeah, the fact that he blind picked his lane matchup in all of the games against Faker is something very few people can do and live to tell the tale.
Not a position I envy to be in, right? I would love to be on the world final stage, but not across from Faker in my lane. Give me any other lane, but he stepped up to the task
Yeah,
today.
I mean, counterpick twice by Faker, does fine in lane, and it's so interesting that last year, with the incredible individual mechanics, the guy who's supposed to beat Faker 1v1 does not come out on top, and now, when it's about the team play, when it's about playing through the team and for the team, Crown walks away a world champion with a 3-0 sweep over Faker.
From level 1 till match point on the world stage, you can follow the Best of the Rift in more places than ever before. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Now, if all the action throughout Worlds has you craving some live action of your own, join us at the NALCS Studios for All-Stars, December 7th to the 10th, where 8 dream teams from their given regions will compete on Summoner's Rift and an epic 1v1 tournament. Voting begins this Tuesday, November 7th, and closes Friday, November 10th. So that's very, very soon. Mark your calendars. For more info, check out the announcement article on lollysports.com. Looking ahead at that All-Stars, tournament. We've talked about this a little bit throughout the tournament, but players from the world stage, maybe players that have made their name on this world stage that you think might now be in the running for the voting.
I'm really curious how it's going to impact the voting, right? Faker should make it for
I think
obvious
that's a
reasons,
given.
but how many Samsung players are going to make it when you have KT who's so
How many
famous and all
Misfits
that?
players are going to make it? That's something I'm really curious about. I mean, Ignar, to me, was such a rising star at this tournament. It'll be interesting to see if he ends up.
Also, new patch, Runes Reforged.
Also, new patch. There's a whole lot to deal with. I haven't even looked at the game since we left for Worlds, so I don't even know what's going on live right now. But hey, it's been an incredible 7-week journey watching 24 teams battle for a chance at the Summoners Cup. From Wuhan to here in an Olympic stadium, we've seen some of the best League of Legends in the history of our game, all capped by the end of a reign and perhaps the start of a new one. And now, so for myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and good night.
We're starting the tournament with the addition of the play-in stage. You have to play your style, and you can't let the other team really dictate it. You just can't drop a single game.
Cassidy, he can do the back door! Goal palette, Nutty! Young generation! He's got the quadra! Oh, they're gonna give it over! The pentakill for White Lotus! Penta!
Nothing was going to stop this C9 roster.
They are not slowing down.
1, 2, 3, the coup de grace and Fnatic are moving on to the groups.
英雄志逐传奇2017英雄联盟全球总决赛现在开始。
Not dead the tiring ultimate, but defensively.
This game is the story of Khan farming it up and bringing it home.
And we get to see a dancing Rift Herald in professional play.
Just pushing forward, Just Punch comes in. Paranoia! 5 minutes into the game!
Playing against Marines is like playing against no other team.
Bang is hiding, he's coming! Bang looking to come in, here comes your initiation, there is Oh my god! Faker Shockwave will find them all!
有没有5杀4个头？这一波直接击毁4人，好球被灭了，师弟没了。Royal never give up, blocking the first seed for Group C. Give it a Yasuo. It's gonna be the 1-2.
They said that they would make the Wuhan stadium quiet, but when G2 leave, this is what they exit to.
GA looking for the 1v1. Can he outplay the ultimate?
The solo now, he can on my Aspen's great. Oh! The final shot of Culling gets the solo.
There's the permafrost as well. Jungle Waters tags from a good distance. First blood to Westor. And AHQ strike down SKT.
Flash rules, they may only win once, but it hurts so bad.
TSM out in group stages again.
Unfortunately for NA, the curse of week 2 continues.
Good thing for us in Cloud9 is we're heading into week 3, so we have nothing to worry about.
Cloud9 improved to 3-3, and they are now SKT's biggest fans.
A captain surprise! Oh, take it down! Here comes Clearlove, the flag, drag, triple kill! Boy, you are amazing! And Fluid Gaming keeps their hopes at playoffs alive.
Bang goes out, gets ulted, backline, Shocker with the backline. Will they get him? It's so close. Hive with a flash forward and Faker.
No team has started 0-3 and made it out to the top 8.
It's going to be a tough road for them if they're going to make it out of this group. They have to essentially run the table.
The hits are coming in. Is it going to be the game? Fnatic looking to knock him down. Toas, he's trying. He got it. Fnatic do the unthinkable and make their way to the quarterfinals.
我觉得弗兰提克从2杠4晋级，大家都可能觉得是个奇迹，但是我觉得他们走到现在完全是用光了自己所有的运气。
RNG Fight 4, legends never die when Guanzou's calling out your name.
Samsung Galaxy defying expectations, and who can really stop this team?
A crushing 3-0 victory over the pre-tournament favorites in Longzhou. The ULCS squad played in Challenger a year ago. Now they're ready for the quarterfinals.
The team's gonna have to meet him on the other side. The cleanse comes out. Oh, shot from Ignor! One more shot as Wolf wants the glitter lands. Bang almost down. Barrier comes in. Ignor! First blood onto Bang. Misfits pull the trigger.
Rise ultimate coming through.
And here comes SKT right on top of Misfits. The damage is just too much. SK Telecom T1 claiming victory over Misfits Gaming.
No one has ever challenged SKT in a quarterfinal like this. No Western team has ever made you think that they can take down this team.
Every single time we've gone into like a stage, it's like, yeah, you're gonna get smashed by the other team. Like that's what the whole community is saying.
Impact Singed is something that Team WE is unable to deal with.
상대가 북미 팀인데 일단 중국이 북미보다 잘한다고 보여줘야 되지 않을까요?
He's nice, but Mystic is massive. He's nice, contracts Jensen. He's going to be next as Shie takes him out.
Mystic is unleashed.
Mystic, the champion, the hero of WE. They weather a brutal storm, and Wanli will push themselves to a historic semi-final.
For Team WE and Samsung Galaxy, a finals berth spells out the chance to reclaim former glory.
Rift walks up for Shie, slicing Maelstrom will buy some time. Still 1,000 hit points to burn through. Cuba is going to try and turn around. The magic shield! And this venue erupts! The Cosmic Radiance is buying some time. Ruler flashes and heals to safety. He gets one. The Noir into the wall. Triple kill picked up for Ruler. And Samsung Galaxy set their sights on the Summoners Cup.
Block gets the shield pump. They still will not dive a bang. And the Ting just picking them all off. The Twitch getting all of them. Double kill already. But Uzi's trying to stay alive. The barrier in. He's still surviving. And a double kill for the Vayne. For Uzi. 5-2 RNG. RNG are a single game away from making history.
Two best of fives. SK Telecom have been pushed to the brink.
사람들은 저희의 시대가 언제 끝날지 되게 궁금해하는 것 같은데. 저희는 리그 오브 레전드가 끝나는 그때까지 계속 세계 최고의 팀입니다.
SKT, masters of control, will take down the Nexus, will take down RNG, and are headed to their 4th World Championship final.
Legends never die when the world's coming.
Can he go back again? Going for the play. Can he get himself any suppressed? The burst damage. Oh! Beat up with the game, saving Baron steal.
Samsung Galaxy only give up one turret this entire game and absolutely dominate SK Telecom.
Damn it! Oh! Look at the blade, Colorado Ruler. Do they have the my God! Triple knockup. The follow through for Cuba. And Samsung Galaxy are one game away from greatness.
Legends never die.
And a kill though for Huni. Can he keep SKT alive? Look for ambition. One more attack. Turns the crowd. Yes, a double for Huni. Flash ult left. They've caught Faker. They've got the CC.